ashes. The spirits light up the night, looking down.
Now, from the Untold Radio Network, it's Untold Radio AM with Doug and Alex Hychak.
Hello.
Hey, you know what I had right before we went live?
What?
I had pizza. I have
Okay.
to tell. I gotta tell the story what happened last night.
For sure.
Okay, so last night. Oh, by the way, welcome everybody.
Welcome.
Glad to have all you wonderful listeners here live. But I had a funny story. You know, Alex is kind of nerdy, right? Well, he did something really nerdy yesterday. He ordered DoorDash for him and his lovely family, and he sent it to my house. So I get his two pizzas and, just so you know, Cinnabon frosted donuts. So I was enjoying all this food. And I called him, and I'm like, you nerd.
Yeah, I felt kind of sad about the donuts.
It's too far to come get it, though.
No,
you know what
I
I
know
mean?
it is.
Doesn't pay. Time is money, man.
I had a hungry child.
It would have taken you an hour to get here and back. You know what I mean?
You're right.
By the way, I still have your Canadian bacon pineapple pizza in my refrigerator.
You don't like fruit pizza?
Feel so inclined, but it probably will be sitting there until it spoils.
Yeah.
I did eat your pepperoni, though. It's gone.
Pretty good stuff.
Okay, tonight we have two great guests. We have Joe Hauser from Montana. Joe is he's a Bigfoot biologist. He's a field biologist. And then we have Linda Eastburn on. And Linda is kind of involved in many endeavors, a filmmaker, podcaster, documentary maker, and obviously a paranormal and Bigfoot researcher. So there you go. You're still mad at me for eating?
I am. The pain is real.
Huh? Well, yeah, I know. Did you get food eventually? What'd you do?
Quesadillas.
Quesadillas frozen? Frozen quesadillas?
No, we just
Taco Bell?
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God. Okay. And then we have Tech Breakdown tonight. We're going to talk about audio recorders and long-term surveillance ideas for long-term surveillance and how to kind of put those in a very secret, cool place where you just might get footage. Okay. What do we got? A little news. I don't have a ton of news tonight. They have developed apparently a 1,300-mile battery, right? 1,300-mile range for a battery. Now, I'm not sure what they're sticking it in, a little Volkswagen, some kind of a little dinky car. I'm not sure you can get a 1,300-mile range out of a battery. I'm not buying it. Do you buy it?
That's a long ways.
Oh my God, that's crazy. But this is what they are claiming. And apparently that mileage mark has been unattainable. And I can imagine even including Tesla, they're doing their, little range tests constantly, trying to develop and test new batteries. And this is a company called Talon New Energy. And this is apparently new battery tech that they claim they can deliver outstanding range, which maybe they can. Apparently somebody else has got one that goes 620 miles. That's crazy. Yeah, anyhow. That's a lot of hype, but we'll see. We'll see. I like to just see even a bike go that far. An electric bike.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But batteries are improving. There's no doubt. Now they've got another company that's working on a sodium or a salt-based battery, which would really cut down on the pollution.
Yeah.
Because lithium and nickel and cobalt and all that kind of mining is not good for the environment. That I do agree with. Absolutely. But it's apparently experts at the Osaka Metropolitan University in Japan has announced a key process to make salt-based batteries.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You're gonna hate me, but can I go in your computer for 1 second?
For what?
You got a hole in your head.
I got a hole in my head.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Here,
What are you talking about?
I'll show you.
Oh, I do. I can fix that. I can do that. Get out of here.
Okay, fix it. Sorry.
What the heck is a hole doing on my head? I get out of here.
Sorry.
I don't like it when people go into my studio. There we go. There we go. There we go. I like a hole in my head. Green screens stink, don't they?
Yeah.
There. How do you like that? How
Oh,
about
perfect.
Dawn?
Invisible Dad.
You could be the invisible dad. They're so sensitive, aren't they?
There. There. I don't see a single hole.
No hole? I like that hole in my head.
It was appearing just in your forehead.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I liked it. Could have been that could have been that show could have went viral. That could have been our one show that went completely viral, millions of hits.
It could have been the holy
Watch
show.
this guy, he's got a hole in his head.
Isn't it weird how stuff
Guys in the
goes
Woods
viral?
said Doug is about to cloak. Yes, I can cloak. Yeah. If anybody thought this is what our studio looked like, actually, I think my real background's better looking.
Yeah.
I got skulls back there. And
I love your office. It's cool. You got all the lighting and the skulls.
Yeah, it's cool. And by the way, Alex and Blaine completely came over, worked. It was like 4 hours each, and rewired my entire studio.
So if it fails, it's our fault.
Yes, for sure it is.
So no pressure,
All right. Next thing in the news: 4, count them, 4 solar flares. Put up photo 1. Simultaneously erupted on the sun. Apparently, it's really rare. It was what they call a super explosion, and apparently, we're going to get hit with fallout from this. There you go. See them? They're circled.
4.
I circled
1, 2,
them just
3,
like
4.
a Sasquatch.
Yep.
There they are.
I see them.
See, it's got a pole in it. And apparently we're going to have maybe northern lights, but apparently, okay, this is exceptionally rare. A quadruple solar flare just exploded from 4 different points across the sun's surface, as apparently at all the same time too. Apparently this stuff is hurtling towards Earth. So be prepared to have crackly internet.
Oh, perfect. That'll help with our show.
Apparently there was a large loop of plasma that was suspended above the solar surface for quite a while. Do you ever go to spaceweather.com?
No, what is that? Does that give you like the solar flare?
Well, I recommend everybody. Yeah, just go to Space Weather because it gives you a different perspective. Okay, you want to talk about climate change. Climate change. I'm sorry. What goes on up there has a huge effect on climate. Huge.
It's true.
So, and we have no control. If you think we have control, or there's some kind of tax they can tax you to, yeah. Mm-hmm. Enough said. Enough of that crap. Okay. Oh, by the way, the salt battery, I'm working on a pepper battery.
A pepper battery?
Yeah, it'll run on pepper.
Cool. Love that.
Yeah, salt and pepper. Pepper will be better.
Don't tell John that.
No, you're right. I shouldn't have said that. John's probably rooting for that salt battery. Okay, apparently there was a really cool UFO in New York.
Yeah.
Shoots past a passenger plane. Was seen by people on the plane. Go ahead and play that clip if you have it. Maybe I didn't send it to you.
The next thing I got is a thing on a rock.
I didn't send it to you. That's fine.
That's okay.
It's still news.
Yeah.
You can look it up after the show. Look it up. UFO happened last week. Shoots past a New York passenger plane.
Okay, interesting. What did you get out of it?
Well, it's legit. I saw something very similar from a flight from Minnesota to New York once.
Okay, interesting.
Me and my dad did. Right.
So a similar sighting.
It was one of the last trips I took with my dad, and there was a black disc below the plane, probably at least, I'd say 1,500 feet, and followed the plane for a while, for maybe 10 minutes, and then took off, and we watched it.
Were you
Very
fascinated?
beautiful, shiny black disc. Pardon?
Were you fascinated, scared, all the above?
I
Like, what
wasn't
was going through your-
scared. No, not at all. I was fascinated.
Thought it was cool.
It was right before they had phones in the camera, or the phones in our phones, cameras in our phones. There really wasn't anything.
Yeah, so you couldn't capture.
No,
anything.
I couldn't do anything.
But you
know,
remember that.
I wasn't gonna like knock, point to every neighbor and go, hey, look out the window. I didn't really. Just me and my dad enjoyed it. So this object looks just like what we saw. It's really cool, and it surprises me. That's in a New York passenger plane. So there you go. All right, next you can put up photo 2. Real awesome photo, right? Photo 2 is just like the most awesome, ugly photo you'll ever see.
The detail.
I took this in my driveway. It's a rock
Serious?
in my driveway.
It is.
Apparently, this is a 20 kilometers wide, and it is heading towards Earth. It's going to come really, really close to Earth. So, it's going to come within 20,000. Okay, I'm all confused here. My notes are all screwed up. It's going to come within 20,000 miles of Earth.
Oh, okay.
But it's about like 20 miles across, this thing.
So that's what they're telling
If it
me.
hit Earth, it would wipe it out.
Yeah. So that's why they won't say anything. Just gonna come close, guys. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Apparently, scientists are getting ready for this thing. It is called. Oh man, that's a tough one. Papahis. This rock is called a Papahis.
Oh, I thought it was called Armageddon.
No, a Papahis.
You see that movie?
Yeah. Well, they're all getting ready to photograph it. They're getting scientific instruments ready. It's apparently it's not going to come around for another 5 years. It's going to be less than 20,000 miles away, 32,000 kilometers away. So apparently it's on a trajectory towards Earth. It's going to do its flyby April 13th, 2029. That's a good day apparently to sell your home, right?
And get by a bunker.
It was discovered in 2004, and it's only at 1,100 feet.
Oh, okay. So it'll just kill most of us.
Yeah, it's nothing. 335 meters. That's nothing.
Nothing. But what would that do if it hit us? Wouldn't it be catastrophic?
I think it would wreck a little bit.
Like a city?
It would do some. It would leave a mark.
It would wipe out a city or two?
Yeah, maybe a few states.
Just a few.
We'd be fine. No, put up photo 3. Curious if you saw this photo 3. Did you see these spiders on Mars?
No, is that what those are? Spiders on Mars?
Yeah, they're real spiders. They finally discovered. No, they look like spiders.
They do.
Those things are actually 3,300 feet across, each black thing, each spider. It's 3,300 feet. That's 3/4 of a mile, right?
That's how big the spiders are?
Yeah, they're 3/4 of a mile a spider.
What are they? Like, really?
Okay, they are the result of a very complex geological process in which carbon dioxide, right?
Right.
That's frozen in the the subsoil,
Yeah.
and it's darker, right? And it's in the soil, and apparently it gets to a certain temp in the spring, it warms up, and it kind of bubbles up to the surface. It forms like geysers, carbon dioxide geysers, if you can imagine what that would look like. And they make these spider-shaped patterns. And apparently they go away then. They disappear.
Makes me think of Starship Troopers.
Yeah. So I just thought that's kind of cool. If I saw this, I'd go, oh, some bitches, those are trees. They're plants. I mean, they kind of look like pine trees.
I thought they were wood ticks.
No, they look like trees, like we're seeing trees.
Yeah.
They could be trees for all we know. It's a cover story. We don't know. Who knows?
They don't tell us anything.
Photo 4, throw another one up for Mars. And this one's got the spiders next to it. But it's the one they call the Inca City on Mars. You see this, a new satellite photo? That looks like it could be a city, doesn't it?
It does.
Like the walls?
Yeah.
A lot of right angle turns.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it doesn't look organic.
No, it doesn't. But they're claiming these linear, ruin-like ridge lines were once thought to be petrified sand dunes or the remnants of an ancient Martian glacier, okay, which could have left high walls of sediment left behind as they retreated. So apparently this area is 53 miles wide, okay? So they're saying now they're magma intrusions, like lava that kind of flows up. But I don't know. Once again, I look at that and I go, yeah, it kind of looks man-made to me. Looks kind of like the Game of Thrones.
Right. I think this is a cover story.
I could be. Hell,
come on.
Be.
Look at those angles.
Yeah, I know. It does look like roads and like walls. I don't know. Who knows?
What do you guys think in the chat?
Yeah, what he done? I don't think anybody's thinking anything tonight. Everybody's brain dead like me tonight. Everybody sent their DoorDash to the wrong house yesterday. Everybody did.
Just don't send it to your dad.
Everybody had brain fog yesterday. Well, that was awesome. You sent that to your dad, though. Yeah. Especially when I saw the Cinnabons, I'm like, oh yeah, Alex is busted.
Well, when you texted me, I'm like, oh, wait till he finds the Cinnabons.
Anyhow, let's do trivia. You can play your little. I got some simple trivia today.
I can play a little bumper.
It's going to be shocking trivia. This is shocking trivia. Can you guess what it is? If it's shocking trivia, don't say anything. Just play the damn bumper.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
All right. Put up photo 5. Everybody will know what the shocking trivia is going to be about. Something we all use all the time.
Is it on batteries?
Yes, that's a great guess, Alex.
How'd I know?
Yes, that's amazing. You are amazing today. By the way, I get to spend the entire week with Alex starting tomorrow morning. I'm going to have lots of donuts on hand for him. All right. We're going to go through trivia on batteries. You use batteries probably every day, don't you?
Yeah, for all kinds of things.
Yeah, of course. We all do. So when do you think the first batteries were invented? Because I honestly don't know. It's been debated.
Isn't there like some Aztec battery?
Yeah, well, no, it's an Egyptian. They call it the Baghdad battery.
Right. I remember. Wasn't that like an ancient name or something?
But it's debated whether it was used for anything. May have been used. My guess it was used for electroplating. Batteries were used, but it could have been used for lights. We don't know. I mean, there's so much history lost.
So does that count?
Yep. So apparently, ancient civilizations of the Middle East and Egypt made simple batteries that were used for making crude light bulbs. You got to guess now which one. Is it crude light bulbs or a gold coating process?
Gold coating process?
Yeah, electroplating. That's the best guess of scientists. So they were plating like chrome plating's done. You put a negative charge on what you want the gold to go to, and then you put a positive charge on the gold, and it'll jump to the negative, whatever's charged negative, right? And you don't need a lot of current for electroplating. Pretty low voltage works. I've played around with it. It's kind of fun. You can buy a electroplating kit, at least you used to, on Amazon.
You remember Seinfeld? It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
No, I don't. Okay, all right, let's get back to this here.
Okay.
Anybody can make a simple battery today using simple materials such as clothespins and pieces of fruit and vegetables. So which one? Is it clothespins or fruits and vegetables? What can you make a battery out of? A simple battery. Clothespins or fruits and vegetables?
Fruits and vegetables.
Yes, because they're acidic. You are right. That was kind of a simpy question. The energy needed to create one fully charged battery of any type is, it's a multiple choice, 20, 30, or 50 times larger than the actual battery itself, as far as the actual power the battery can output.
50.
So your answer is 50. The choices were 20, 30, and 50. And nobody wanted to take a guess on that one. Oh, Mary says 30. Thank you, Mary. Will says 30. It is 50.
Thanks, John.
So it takes 50 times the amount of power that the battery can output to produce itself. The amount of nickel cadmium in an average smartphone battery can pollute more than, multiple choice, 100,000 liters of water, 1,000 liters of water, or 600,000 liters of water. How much pollution from one nickel cadmium battery in one smartphone? How many liters of water can it pollute? 600,000, 100,000 liters, or 1,000 liters?
1,000 liters.
1,000 liters is, John Ayers says 100,000, Restall's 1,000, and Will is 600K, and Will is right, and so is Susan. Alex is very wrong. It's pretty poisonous stuff.
Oh, man.
People don't realize, man, this stuff really is not the greatest.
No, it's not.
All batteries that are made for inside modern electric cars, are they rechargeable or are they non-rechargeable?
Non-rechargeable.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on that? Take Alex to task.
Of course, everyone's too busy Googling right now.
All batteries inside modern electric cars are rechargeable or are they non-rechargeable? Susan says rechargeable. So yeah, Mary got it right. Will got it right. John got it.
All the Googlers got
Everybody
it right.
got all the Googlers. No, everybody got it right except you.
Oh, that's smart.
All right. How much money is generated with the battery manufacturing industry? Right? How much money? Every battery sold in a year, is it 28 billion, 38 billion, or 48 billion in sales?
48 billion.
Dun, 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 dun. Wish we had music playing.
You
gotta get some music going. It's 48 billion. I lost my place.
Oh yeah, I got it right.
48 billion in sales, and that was in 2005. I'm sure it's bigger now.
Oh yeah, it's like 100 billion now.
So modern industry uses a lot of mercury, or they use a lot of 6061 aluminum for various items, right? They use both. Which one of those is used the most in batteries for battery manufacturing? Is it aluminum or is it mercury?
Aluminum.
Aluminum. Dun, dun, dun. It is
You're going to say mercury, aren't you?
mercury.
Sorry,
Eric. That's a good trick question.
Sorry, John. Don't get salty with us.
Did you know that the name of the guy, you know why they call it like a volt, 1 volt or a voltaic cell? It's because the guy who invented it, his name was Alessandro Volta.
That's a cool name.
Invented the battery. Or was it Nikola Tesla? Which one? The word volt or voltaic cell. Was it named after Alessandro Volta or Nikola Tesla? Nikolai Tesla.
Named after Mr. Volta.
Volta?
Mr. John Travolta.
Volta. Yeah. Everybody got that. Volta. Big Racer even got it right. Volta. Mary got it
Tesla didn't get credit for anything.
right. No. Almost all components in a modern battery are industrially processed minerals, which are very poisonous or just somewhat poisonous.
Very poisonous.
Dun dun.
Depends who you talk to, right? You'll be
Considered
fine.
very poisonous.
Yeah.
So which one is stronger for a lead battery? Is it what they call a wet cell battery or an absorbed glass mat battery, AGM? Absorbed glass mat or a wet battery?
Absorbed glass mat.
Yes, that's right. You were cheating. How many batteries do we purchase in the U.S. every year? 1 billion? This is all sizes, every type. 1 billion, 10 billion, or 3 billion? How many batteries?
1
billion. Number of
billion.
batteries.
1 billion.
1 billion is your answer?
Yes.
Come on, guys. We need some. Hey, Sibylla.
Hello, Sibylla.
I forgot to call Will too. I need to call Will. Maybe tonight I'll call Will.
Remember, we got to get up early tomorrow.
It's 3. I know 3 billion. 3 billion batteries are
3
sold every
billion.
year. Yep. How many tons of batteries are thrown away each year? Is it 10 to 15,000 tons or 20 to 30,000 tons of batteries are thrown every year? 10 to 15,000 tons, 20 to 30,000 tons.
20 to 30.
Yeah. Everybody's slow. I can't wait. Yeah, you're right.
John said a lot.
That is a lot. Think about it. That's tons. Ugh.
Yeah.
30,000 tons are thrown in the garbage. Why am I yawning? My God. This is boring. Batteries are boring. I just realized that.
I don't know. I think this is electrifying.
No, it's boring. It's boring as
I'm
hell.
all charged up.
No, it's okay. What's the most common problem that people report in their cars? Is it a bad car battery, a car starter, or transmission problems? What is the most common problem people have with their cars?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? You said transmission.
What's the most common problem people have with their cars? Is it from the battery, the car starter, or the tranny?
The battery.
Oh, I saw that. Well, you got it wrong. It's the battery. Yeah. It's the most common problem cars still have.
Yeah, come on, Will. We're talking about batteries.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The answer is right in the question. All right, that's it. That's enough of that crap on batteries.
All right, what are we doing now?
I could have gone on all night on batteries. Well, I couldn't find any funny clips, so I thought I'd just tell a couple of bad dad jokes myself.
Okay.
You can play your damn bumper if you want.
All right. Bumper in 3, 2, 1.
First joke. My friend was showing me his tool shed and pointed to the ladder. He then said, "That's my step ladder." He said, "I never knew my real ladder."
I get it. Step ladder.
Yeah.
It's not his real one. Like
So what do you
stepfather.
call a Frenchman wearing sandals?
Oh, I don't know.
You call him Philippe Flop.
Philippe Flop.
Bad. Why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house? Why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house?
Why?
Because the ghosts bring all of their own booze.
Bring your own booze.
Get it?
Yeah, boo.
I don't think he got it, audience. What does a baby computer call its father? What does a baby computer call its father?
I don't know.
Data.
Data, like data.
Okay. That's enough of that crap, too. Even my delivery's bad like a dad.
I think the delivery is perfect.
Bad like a
It's
dad.
on
Okay.
point.
Well, let's run through our clips and then, I see we got Linda in the back room and Joe, and we'll be with you guys. It'll be like 2 seconds. We're going to bring you both on. And by the way, nod your head, Linda. Do you know Joe? You must know Joe. You don't know Joe? Huh. There, Joe's going, no. Good. That's perfect. You guys never met each other.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Joel's definitely needs to be on Linda's show.
Yes. It's a great show.
Clip 1.
Okay, can I do the bumper? What is this?
Oh, yeah.
Please. Please.
Yeah, please do your bumper.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
And I'm magically gone. See how I like this?
Oh,
Focus is on you. Sound is good. Okay. What sound? Don't play it. What sound do snakes make that you know? People in chat. What sound do snakes make? They make sissy noises.
Yeah.
And they make rattles, right?
Yeah, the rattle.
That's all I've ever known.
Mhm.
Boy, was I wrong. Go ahead and play clip 1. Listen to this. Volume up.
Trying to scare you.
Yeah. Kevin, what's this snake doing?
This is threat posturing and threat vocalization. It's totally harmless.
This thing moves.
Terrified.
Like a cow.
What it's going to do is to make you think.
Can you turn the volume up, Alex? That's not loud enough.
It's max.
Well, turn your input up so people can hear it.
I know.
You hear that
Blow
better?
it out. Listen to this thing. Start it over. Yeah, just a couple of seconds in.
Kevin, what's this?
Listen to this thing.
This is threat posturing and threat vocalization. It's totally harmless. But
You hear that?
Terrified, and what it's trying to do is to make you think twice about doing anything.
That's good. That's enough of that crap. You heard it, right, Alex?
Yeah, I heard it.
What did you
Weird.
think?
I never heard anything like that coming out of a snake.
I wonder if Joe has ever heard of a mooing snake. That's pretty interesting. I hope I'm not getting punked.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe I'm getting punked. Clip 2 sounds good. Have you ever seen a tumbleweed river, Alex?
No, I haven't.
Well, you're about to. Go ahead.
This is unreal. This is unbelievable.
Just wait.
This is the first water to come through here since last irrigation season. And look what's flowing in behind it. I mean,
Stuff you don't think about.
I'm going to get down in here. Look how, I mean, that's taller than me. Oh, I got to get out of here. It's about to get me. This is, you've seen floods like landslides, and have you ever seen a tumbleweed? I don't even know what you call this.
Why did he walk away from the damn tumble? There we go. If I just came upon that, I'd run. All right, that's enough of that crap. Clip 3, sound is good. I had no idea that alligators could do this. I had no idea. Definitely a fear unlock. Go ahead and play clip 3. So you live in Florida, you put a fence up,
Oh no.
and a damn alligator climbs in, right? Like this one did. And now it decides it needs to climb out. Not very graceful.
No, but he did it.
But he
I didn't
did
think
it.
he could reach.
Came in and he's leaving.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. That was
Clip 4, no sound. Who knew rabbits could fight off hawks? Go ahead and you don't think of rabbits as fighting off a hawk. Go ahead and play clip 4, no sound. His little boxing hands are just going a mile a minute.
It looks like a kangaroo.
Yeah, his little arms are just going. Keeping the hawk at bay, man. I didn't know rabbits could do that or would do that.
Yeah.
Clip 5, I don't even care about. Skip it. Clip 6. Sound is good. This guy is caught in an avalanche, and I did a doc on avalanches, and we made avalanches for the doc. But this guy is, man, he's lucky. Go ahead and play it. Clip 6. Sound is good. So actually what you're seeing is him going downhill. Like he's riding that down. He's riding in the avalanche. But because there's no perspective, you don't know. And usually people get sucked under and then they suffocate. But he made it through. He's still riding it down, Alex.
That's scary.
Shit.
Yeah, he was going about probably 50 to 70 miles an hour straight down. All right, enough of that. I think we only have 2 more. Sound is good. We don't have to play the whole thing, but just a little bit of it. The visual is pretty amazing. This is a nighttime rainbow. Ever seen a nighttime rainbow?
Yeah, I've seen nighttime rainbows.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Like the other night when your DoorDash didn't come. You can play it with audio.
It's 2:48 in the morning.
Now, my guess, I don't know. People can guess in comments when you watch this. My guess it's Northern Lights because I've seen Northern Lights in all of these colors. And what did I just say earlier? We had 4 solar explosions. And this came up right about the time that stuff would have been hitting us.
Rainbow, nothing like that in the
So I think it's just Northern Lights. There you go. Enough of that.
That's very cool looking.
All right. That's a nighttime rain. Clip 9 is just simply a frog stampede. Nature never ceases to amaze me. So, sound is good. Yep.
There's so many of them. There's just like an ambush.
Isn't that crazy?
Frogs. Yeah.
Guy must be holding some popcorn. All right. Enough of that. That's a nightmare for some people.
Right.
Clip 10. This is a military UFO. I know I sent you this one. This is from a military jet cockpit view. It's a new one that's been released. Go ahead and play it.
It looks like something, there's some kind of object that's suspended in the air. It's hard to tell. It's pretty small. I cannot see it outside my eyes.
It's also very similar to the object seen out of the plane in New York. You'll see it in a minute here. I think you can see it off in the background there. It comes closer. See it there?
Yeah, right there.
1-1 in the targeting pod. You can see something. I can't tell if it's metallic or what. And there's, I can see like lines coming.
Whoa.
There you go.
Down below, but I can't see anything below it.
How do you stay calm seeing something like that?
Well, it's too crazy out. Okay. Now this one, the next thing, it's more of an illusion. It's not a clip. No, we're done. Clip 11, no sound. I just want everybody to make a comment. Literally, I do want to hear your comments. Do you see red in this image? Do you see red, Alex?
Yeah.
I do too. There is no red. He's going to zoom in. There's no red. That is your brain making up bull crap. If that didn't say Coke on it, you would not see red. That's scary, isn't it?
The association.
It's black and white. There's no color in that at all. There's blue and there's white and black. That's it. There's no red. All right, that's enough. That's all. I just want people to see that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a super unique optical illusion, you call it, or?
Yeah, it's an optical illusion. What time we got here? All right, let's go ahead and bring everybody on, and then I think I'll do the tech breakdown at the end of the show tonight. But remind me, okay?
Very cool.
All right.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Linda.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you guys?
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
I was going to say, I just can't believe you guys haven't met.
Hello.
Nope. I don't think we
No, you don't.
Have you
I
seen
just
Linda's
started
show?
following you on Facebook, though.
Oh.
I saw that.
No, I haven't. Okay.
Yeah, no, anyhow, well, let's start with we'll start with Linda. Linda, tell me. I mean, obviously, you do this show. What the hell got you interested in the paranormal and Bigfoot? You do a lot of Bigfoot stuff too, but what?
Mostly Bigfoot stuff. You know, I really didn't have an interest in Bigfoot. It just kind of came to me. It was only, I've only been doing Bigfoot interviews for about not even a year and a half now.
Oh, okay.
And I was doing intuitive journeys, which I'm a remote viewer, and doing intuitive work and do some paranormal research, mostly UFO research though. And I was talking with a lady, and she was kind of doing some intuitive things with me. And she said, you know, I think your life's going to have some changes. And it's brought to you by Bigfoot. And shortly thereafter was a conference, and I met Scott Nelson and did the Scott Nelson interview, which is Bigfoot the Language, and that monetized my YouTube channel, and it's all history from there. I've just been going down the line of Bigfoot ever since, and a lot of paranormal too.
Scott has got to be the cool. I got to hang out with him for a whole 3 days.
Yeah.
Like drinking with him for 3 days, and he is like so brilliant.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's fabulous to talk with.
And he knows like so many languages, and he was just, and he looks like Willie Nelson's brother too.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun. He's just a lot of fun to hang out with.
I used to tease him. So you got interested in Bigfoot because of Scott. Mm-hmm. He was the one. He was the one.
He was speaking at a conference. I met him, asking for an interview. Did 6 hours of interview with him. Came back and turned that into 2 1-hour shows, and it was popular. People liked it. So
that's cool. Yeah. Do you live in Minnesota by any chance, Linda?
No, I live in Missouri.
Oh, I don't know why. Just sense some of the Midwest something.
Oh yeah.
I went. Okay, well, Missouri, that's yeah.
Close enough.
A lot of people from Minnesota, by the way, moved to Missouri. My brother even did.
It's warmer here.
Yeah, it's like Minnesota, but warmer.
It's a warm Minnesota.
It's a warm Minnesota, yeah. Have you ever been to Missouri, Joe?
Never have yet.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Now we're going to go
Or
with
Minnesota
you.
either.
What? What are you doing, Joe?
Yeah, what the heck? All right. So then you got interested, Joe, in Bigfoot based on an experience or something else? Or just reading about it?
Well, my dad and my uncle and my grandfather had some Bigfoot experiences in Colorado back in the 1930s.
Okay.
At a place called Crestone Reservoir. And I heard about that when I was a kid. And I saw the Patterson-Gimlin film on the news. But it wasn't until 1983 I was at a remote gold mining camp in the Sierras. And my partner and I had a dredge for gold all day long. And then that night we're sitting around the campfire and we heard 2 loud screams and then followed by 3 loud whoops up the canyon. And that's the first time I'd ever heard them. And I turned around to him. I go, "Hey, Herman, what the heck is that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's Sasquatch, Bigfoot. You haven't heard him before?" And I go, "No." He said, "Yeah, they're around all the time. You've been out here a long time. I figured you already knew about them." And that's kind of how I got started in it.
It's interesting. So, okay. So you just heard them. You didn't see
I heard
one.
them, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Over the rest of that summer, we heard them several times. We found footprints in our camp. And we'd leave food out, and they'd come and take the food, and usually we'd leave beans or stew or something like that. They'd take the pan and go up on the hill to a granite outcrop and eat it up there, and then just leave the pan there. And so we smelled them. You could have not all the time, but we'd get a really foul-smelling scent. So kind of all of we found, other than the footprints in camp, we found one footprint over at a spring too. So almost all summer long while gold mining, we had some sort of Bigfoot experience.
Wow, that's crazy. And then I would imagine at some point, we'll get to that, but at some point, at some later date, you actually saw one.
I finally saw one, yeah. My first experience, it took me 22 years before I finally saw one. Wow. And actually saw 2 in Glacier Park, but we can talk about that later. And since then, I've seen one more and had a partial sighting of another one.
Wow, that's crazy. So have you ever gone out in the field, Linda, to do are you interested in doing that, get out in the field?
Yeah,
in the woods?
we just made a documentary called Byways of Bigfoot, and it's along the Niagara River. And we did get out, and we did find some evidence along the river, several places, some private property as well as just some river access areas. But yeah, it was my first time actually going out and looking for something. The private property, they'd been hearing sounds, vocals there in spring and fall, but no other evidence. So I guess I was just not anticipating finding anything. We were just going out to look. And our very first trip filming, we found some footprints and tree breaks and minor things, but still, I was just amazed. And then on the private property, we found a trackway and some other really interesting finds as well. So yeah, we did do that. It was my first trip out.
That's it. Yeah. I personally don't think it's that hard to get, if somebody can steer you into the right area. It's not that uncommon to have experiences the first time you go out. It really isn't.
Yeah, I was amazed that we were actually able to get some of that filmed. Yeah.
So you've been a filmmaker for how many years, Linda?
Not that long. Actually, just 2018, I started doing documentaries, more serious documentaries. I did a World War II documentary and one about a cancer survivor, things of that nature, not anything dealing with this. And so that was kind of what I'd hoped to get back into. And Byways is a little bit more like that, but it's more out in nature rather than a human interest story. It's more, nature and the Bigfoot searching for the Bigfoot. So
Okay, but so you're one of those people that kind of reinvented yourself, I'm guessing. Just
I've
say,
done that.
hey, I'm going to do this
Many
fun
times.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm a real estate investor at heart, so
Oh,
that's
jeez.
always my bread and butter. So
Okay.
that's what I do. Yeah, but I'm a very privileged person. I've been able to have many careers, doing many things that I love.
That's cool. Yeah. And how about you, Joe? What did you do for a living back, way back? And how?
Before I purchased the Montana Vortex in Columbia Falls, Montana, I did environmental consulting for power companies in the Western United States under contract basis. And so I had an opportunity to spend tons of hours in the woods. And I lived in the woods in the Sierras, but I had plenty of opportunity to go all over Northern California and hit all the places where there was Bigfoot activity too.
Very interesting. So you work for the power company, but you did like field biology and environmental
originally I was a
studies.
biologist for fish and game, fish and wildlife biologist. I worked for the state parks for a while, and then I got into environmental consulting.
So let me throw this question at both of you, and I don't care who answers first here, but Linda, have you come to any conclusions as to what you think they might be?
Well, no, but I've heard a lot of opinion about it.
Yeah.
Out of about 300 interviews. It's really hard to say because every person has their own experience, and one would, if you only have a flesh and blood experience with them, of course that's where you're going to go. But there are so many people who have these very unusual, unexplained things happen around Bigfoot, and it sounds a lot like a lot of the paranormal experiences that other people have. So no, I reached zero conclusion at this point.
So, okay. So no, you have no opinion. Are you just kind of, are you split, between this?
Yeah, I am. I don't know that I have enough hands-on experience. All I have are these interviews and a little bit of evidence that we found. But I'm trying to, I've just written a book called Threshold to Encounters, and I'm sort of correlating the experiences that people have not only with aliens and UFOs and ghosts and things like that, but how much of the experience crosses over into very much like experiences. That's not to say that they are connected, but it's not to say that they aren't either. So that's kind of where I'm headed, is like, well, it just seems like there's a lot of crossover in the way that people experience it. Now, those people who just have flesh and blood experiences, they, that's hardcore. It's just a physical experience for them. And that doesn't cross over into this. So sometimes you have to say, well, I don't have those experiences. Man, I don't have paranormal experiences either of any sort. I've never seen a UFO. I've traveled all over to try to see a UFO. I've never seen one. So, that's just me. So I don't know if it's the person or if it's something else, or some people are just able to see things like this and other people don't. I really don't know. So I'm trying to be very objective in the process, and I just listen to what other people have to offer as far as their experience goes.
And I would imagine, Joe, you're kind of a man of science. Excuse me. I would imagine you're still kind of open-minded on either level. And have you made your mind up what the hell these things are?
Well, I think they're highly intelligent beings. They could be our closest living relative, and there's some evidence to indicate that. They could be the original species on this planet. The Blackfoots I'd call them Oki Tapi or Mistaki Tapi, which means original human or large mountain spirit. And they're extremely intelligent beings. Their intelligence and their abilities exceed ours in just about every way. They may not use cell phones or computers. Doesn't mean they can't do it, but they don't really have a need to do it. But I really think they're the original species on the planet, whether they were brought here or they already were here, and perhaps we were brought here. by aliens or something. I don't know, but they have a lot of abilities that we don't have, or maybe we just forgot.
Yeah, that that could be. I often just wonder, if that day's going to come where we know for sure. Do you think that's going to come, Linda? Like,
I
there's going to
think
be a
there's
day where it's going to be like, ping.
Yeah, I think eventually there's going to be more. I don't know if I would say more evidence, more knowledge about learning how to understand what we're dealing with anyway.
Yeah.
If it's a flesh and blood being, just a flesh and blood being, then there's going to require some physical evidence that is hardcore. But I think science is kind of moving in maybe a little different direction, where things like parallel universes or things like that, where we're going to have advances more in that area, where we know some of the things that people talk about that happen to them, how it happens, whether that's just an internal mental processing that we go through, and somehow our five senses are picking up things that we haven't picked up normally. I don't know exactly, but there's just so many factors involved in perception. And then to be just like your Coke can,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's easy to be fooled. So I think we can't just trust our five senses in understanding the reality around us. I think there could be a different reality, or another reality, or a reality that overlaps with our
Or
reality.
dimension.
Yeah. What was your thoughts on that, Joe? That Coke can that I showed, that's weird, isn't it? Where you see the red.
Yeah, it is. The thing about it, I want to talk about what Linda's saying. There's two sides in the big community. There's the kind of the basic ape campers, believe they're kind of big dumb apes, and then there's the paranormal side. I've been on the paranormal side ever since I first got started in this, based on, like Linda said, based on all the experiences that I have. But I also believe that they are flesh and blood beings, and there's tons of evidence for that. But then there's so many people experiencing paranormal things in association with Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that, that we can't rule that out as being legitimate, whether it's a different reality or a parallel universe or whatever we want to call it. There's things like that that are going on. When I talk at conferences and stuff, there's two sides of the same coin, basically, normal and paranormal. And the only difference between normal and paranormal is we just haven't put the science behind all the paranormal stuff yet. However, there's been, over the last few years, especially with quantum physics, there's been a big push to look at all these paranormal things that are happening, and people are starting to put the science behind it. I mean, there's published articles in Journal of Physics on orbs and different things like that. So these kind of things are gradually coming into the mainstream with scientists, and it's something that we have to take in consideration when we're dealing with not only Bigfoot, other possible cryptids, and even aliens too.
Yeah, I mean that's a good explanation. My son believes, I'm not Alex, but his brother believes they're more on the metaphysical. When they're here, they're very much here, and when they're not, they're not. He's what got him thinking that way, and you guys can agree or not agree, but is when we go out and we do research, we almost always have activity. And he's like, there cannot be that many Bigfoots. There's no way. But I'm like, but my argument, Blaine, is every time we go out, we plan an area. We study maps. We study the time, the berries that will be ripe. We go to great detail to make sure there's water and it's, there's edges somewhere nearby and la, la, la. But he's like, there's no way there could be that many. How can we have activity every time?
I disagree with him. I would disagree with Blaine. I think there's lots of them around, but you guys, it's kind of funny. I mean, I know tons of people in the Bigfoot world, and there's a lot of people that are on these podcasts and stuff like this, that they found tracks, they may have heard them or whatever, but they've never had a sighting yet. And then there's a whole lot of people that go out and do a lot of field time in areas where there's Bigfoot, and they have no experience at all. And I just think I've always felt the Bigfoot know your intentions and what your what your intentions are, and they choose to show themselves to some people or some groups of people versus not showing themselves to other people. And that's just my take on it.
Is it possible it's heritage?
It could be. Like I said, my family had experiences at Crestone Reservoir in Colorado in the 30s, and they would hike in there and fish on this lake and build a big fire. They were catching big fish, and then one day they went in this place where they camped. They found like a 20-inch footprint, and then a couple of them, and then that night they heard whoops and screams. And this was way back during World War II, right before my dad went into the Marines. And so they were already experiencing something like that in the mountains in Colorado way back then.
It's interesting. So what would be your guess, Linda? How many of these things live in North America? All of North America, then Canada, the continental U.S. and
I
Alaska.
wouldn't even begin to have a number.
Well, let's just say you had to put $5,000 on a bet. And you had to, whoever could come the closest of 5 people to the real population, what would you say? What would
I really
Linda's
wouldn't
guess?
be able to guess that. But what I have noticed is a lot of people who do have encounters with them, they seem to think that it's a very unique individual sighting. And the thing is, so many people are having these encounters of some sort, whether it be a sighting, whether it be just finding evidence, of some sort. I think it's a matter of they've always been there, and there's probably always been many of them, but they kind of come and go. So who knows? Because they kind of just disappear into the woods. And so do they go into some other realm when they disappear into the woods, or are they, actually camping out in the woods or living in the woods? I think they can come and go. I really do. So to say how many are actually here, how many are actually alive, how many are, hunting and reproducing, that's just really, really hard to say. But also,
go ahead.
Another thing I want to inject in that is also, we participate in some of this interaction that we have. I liked what Joe said about they know our intentions, but I think they also know when we're looking for them. And therefore, I think evidence and even sightings happen when we are in the process of looking for them, because if there's some kind of an interaction that we seem to have with them mentally. And I don't know about the 3 of you, but I mean, that just seemed to be true with us on byways. When we started looking, there was the evidence. It had not been there before on the private property.
Is it possible that the evidence is like that Coke can? I worry about that because, that freaks me out when I see something like that. And it's like, okay, I can't trust my own eyes.
It's always been there and you just didn't see it.
Yeah. It's like,
well, and part of it too
what do you think?
And part of it too is, I mean, once you've been out in the woods a lot and you start having experiences, part of it is developing a search image for what's out there. And that would be the science behind it. For instance, I could walk out on the back of our property here with a group of people on a tour of the vortex. And I look down, and because I've been in the woods most of my life, or desert, I look down, I go, oh, look, there's a deer down there by that tree. And everybody looks down there, and most people go, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. And then all of a sudden the deer moves its head, and everybody sees it. But I've developed a search image for picking out the deer or the elk and stuff like that. And unless you've lived in the woods and you've done that, a lot of people just don't have that experience to be able to see those kind of things. So it's also a process of elimination. When my wife and I go out, we look for anomalies, things that are not right in the woods, or the sounds that all of a sudden stopped and things like that. So you kind of have to attune yourself to your environment. And when you're out there, you have to be aware of what's going on around you. when I was a curator with the BFRO, there was most of the sightings were by chance. People were not out looking for them. They'd be in camp, cooking, barbecuing, playing their radio loud, doing all kinds of stuff, and just turn around, and there's a Bigfoot standing outside a camp watching the whole process. So they're obviously attracted to humans. They appear to be family people. They have kids and families, and I think they're kind of attracted to family situations like that too. And there's way more people that have chance encounters in the woods than people going out and actually looking for them.
Yeah, but you do wonder if they're still pretty familiar with the topic, Do you know what I mean, Joe?
It's hard to not be familiar with 8 million people a week were watching Finding Bigfoot. I mean, that created more Bigfoot researchers and experts than anything else. And people always say, well, are you an expert on Bigfoot? I go, no, there are no experts. We haven't had one where we can sit down and study or talk to it or examine it or do anything like that. But there's so many people that call themselves Bigfoot experts, and that's really not true. I mean, to be a Bigfoot expert, all you have to do is start about 5 minutes before somebody else and start talking like you know something, and all of a sudden you're a Bigfoot expert.
That's true. That's true. So how many of these creatures, Joe, do you think there could possibly be in the U.S.?
It's hard to say, but the number of people that I interview here from all over Montana and the whole country, there's got to be over 100,000, 200,000. I mean, there's got to be tons of them around. But again, I said their abilities exceed ours. Obviously, they have the ability to hide, maybe even cloak or disappear, stuff like that. And so they could be right outside here, and I couldn't see them through the window I'm looking at right now. So they're very, very intelligent, and that's why they have stayed hidden for so long. But I think they choose to show themselves to you. And that was my second experience with the Bigfoot. I was at the Vortex here, and it was towards the end of the season. I was given a tour, and all of a sudden, for like 2 or 3 months, my wife Tammy and she hadn't seen one yet, and I had seen 2 in Glacier Park back in 2005, and she really wanted to see one. So we're outside, and all the time we're like, oh, no, we know you're here. Just show yourselves to us. Just show yourselves. And then I was with a group of people, and I saw one walking up the trail. And it was a big guy. He's about 7.5 foot tall, great big wide shoulders, long arms, very narrow waist, appeared to be very young. And he just walked up and like, well, you wanted to see me? Here I am. Turned around and went on away back in the woods, and he disappeared just like that. He had actually been here. We've had 11 sightings on the grounds, and there are a family of them here. But he was auburn in color, strawberry blonde hair. And when I first got here 21 years ago, we had 2 sightings of a small Bigfoot, about 4 foot tall. One person saw this auburn colored Bigfoot with strawberry blonde hair, kind of skipping down the trail. And then all of a sudden he just disappeared in front of his eyes. And then 2 other people that were there at the same time, not in the same area, they were the first group of paranormal people. We were doing a paranormal night for a bunch of paranormal groups from Canada that were coming down. And 2 of them were waiting for everybody else to get there. And they heard 2 little whoops, and they looked over, and there was a little Bigfoot, strawberry blonde hair, auburn in color. He jumped up in the air like, hey, look at me. And then he took off running really quick, something like a little kid would do. And I mean, they each had like $4,000 cameras on them. And it's like, they didn't even think about taking a picture. I mean, they were so stunned that they just saw a Bigfoot. I think he's been here all his life, and I think he's finally growing up now. And that's the one that I saw about 4 years ago.
Interesting. By the way, you guys can just go at it. I mean, we can all just, it's a
It's a
you don't
free
need to
for all.
raise your hand, just do a free for all. Let's go.
So,
Yeah.
so guys,
You know,
Linda, Joe,
I said my yeah.
what do you think they want? Do you
Oh,
guys
there
talk
you go.
about that?
What do they want?
You
Okay.
say, you know, I've heard from so many people
Well-
how smart they are. What do you think they want?
Well, you know, everyone says that they're always trying to hide from people, but yet, you know, like Joe just said, it does seem like they get really, really close in to where people are. So I don't know if they want us to discover them or if they want to continue hiding from us. I don't know. That's a mixed thing.
Joe?
I think they don't want to be bothered overall. They just want to live and do their thing, which they've been doing probably for thousands of years. But there's so many of us out in the woods now doing all kinds of different things. And I think their curiosity level is really what gives them away. They're curious of what we do. They're curious. They seem to love laughter and kids playing and families having a good time. And many of the sightings of people I've interviewed over the years, that's just exactly what people were doing. And then they looked over and there's a Bigfoot watching them. And that happens more times than I mean, for instance, if you look at the BFR reports in Montana, I don't know, last time there was 18, 20 reports on there. But every summer, all summer long, I can hardly not, I mean, there's somebody standing in front of the display case and we have lots of Bigfoot prints in there. And I walk in, I go, hey, you ever had a Bigfoot experience? And well, yeah, but I don't usually talk about it. And there's hardly anybody that stands there that are interested in the footprints that has not had a Bigfoot experience, or they know somebody that had a Bigfoot experience. So it's way more prevalent than we think. And not everybody reports it. My first Bigfoot experience, I never reported all the time at the gold camp. It wasn't until years later where my son and I had another experience in the Sierras where I finally reported it to the BFRO. So that was almost 20 years later before I did that.
Yeah.
You know, that's true of other things too. You know, the UFO sightings or, you know, other types of encounters. That's very, very true. I think there's so much more out there. I think rather than paranormal, maybe it's more normal for people to have these experiences.
Thomas Steenberg jumped in and he said he thought about 1 in 5 reported if they have an encounter. I think that's being a little generous. I think it's far less people report them. I've always stuck to 1%. 1 out of 100 will.
Yeah, I think that's probably more legitimate, and that might even be off too. You know, when I was in the Sierras, I didn't go in looking for Bigfoot or whatever. Things just started happening in the early 80s. And of course, the internet wasn't big then. I didn't know anybody that knew about Bigfoot other than my gold mining partner, and because he had experienced them before. But over the next few years, living and working in the woods, I had several different things that would happen that just didn't fit into the normal biology of what we would expect from the animals that live in the woods. One time I was cutting wood in the El Dorado National Forest in the northern Sierras, and I was cutting wood in this small little canyon, and I just had this feeling that something was watching me. It was the strangest feeling I ever had. And many people feel that way too, if you look at the BFRO reports. So I put my chainsaw down, walked back to my truck, got a cup of coffee and a cookie, and I'm standing there, and I still had this feeling of being watched. Well, there was kind of a hill that went up on the passenger side of my truck. It was about 20 foot up there. And I just decided I'm going to climb up there and see what's up there. Well, when I got to the top of the hill, there was a big opening, like a cleared area. And there was a giant old growth oak tree right in the center of that clearing. And most of the rest of the area was surrounded by manzanita bushes. And so I walked up to the oak tree, and as I'm going through, there's probably a good 10 inches of oak leaves and leaf litter on the floor or on the ground there. And I kind of backed up to the back of the oak tree, and I'm looking around. Well, just out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shiny thing or a glint of something in the sunlight. And I walked over to it, and I pulled the leaves back, and there was a dead deer carcass underneath the leaves. And what I first thought was it was a mountain lion. And so I just backed away really quick. I started looking around the trees, the oak trees. I couldn't see anything. So after a couple minutes, I got kind of comfortable. I went over there and I pulled the oak leaves back, and the deer was laying on its back. Its chest cavity, it was like something has stuck its hands right underneath the sternum and just ripped the whole chest cavity open. Wow. And it created a pool of blood. All the internal organs were gone except the intestines. And then when I started examining it, a mountain lion usually bites a deer behind the back of the neck and severs the spinal column. Well, in this case, it's almost like whatever it was reached out, grabbed the deer by the head, and like cracking a whip, it broke its neck. And the crack was so hard that the rear legs whipped around 180 degrees and actually broke the backbone back there. So the legs were turning one way, the other legs the other way. So it was probably a very violent death. Well, I looked around the area because there was if it's a mountain lion or a bear that's covering up a deer, which they do after they finish eating on it, to come back the next day, you find scratch marks all over the place. And the whole forest would just had this just covered completely with leaves, like about 10 inches. So I made a big circle around. I didn't find any footprints or anything, but about 30 foot away, I found an area where it's almost like something had just gathered up a whole bunch of leaves and detritus, walked over there, put it on the deer carcass, went back, maybe did it a second time. There's a whole area about 6-7 foot across that had been cleared. And so something intentionally not only hid the deer, but they knew that if I looked at it here, I might suspect something. And so they brought the leaves from a different place. And that shows a tremendous amount of intelligence right there. They're thinking ahead of what I might find.
Linda, have you heard about weird animal kills? Stories?
Well, animal mutilations, definitely some animal mutilations. Not so much like that, not by Bigfoot necessarily, but I actually observed an orange light above a field where a cow was mutilated in that field, and then 2 farms, one on each side of that field. There were some cattle mutilations that happened. That was back in the 90s when I didn't really know what I was observing. I was new in the UFO community, just looking for evidence, but that just happened to me randomly one night, and I would never have known that there were animals mutilated there, except that we were friends with that community, with the people that actually own those farms, because that was never made public. But I think those are happening. I don't think that's done by Bigfoot, however. I think that's more of an alien or UFO kind of experience.
Was this in Missouri, Linda?
Yeah, this was at my brother-in-law's house, where I was just sitting about 10 o'clock one night waiting for my husband to come to get in the truck, and he was talking with his brother for a time, and I was just observing this orange light. Had no idea there was a cow being mutilated at that time, probably in that very field. But that was in the 90s. There was just this flap of UFO activity that came across. But also, I've noticed that there's a lot of UFO activity in the same areas, at least here, where there's also Bigfoot sightings. Don't know if there's a correlation between those two things or not. I don't know. But I have taken reports of both, and it does seem to happen.
There's in the BFRO, there's lots of reports, like you say, of Bigfoot, UFO, orbs, and stuff like that. But for years, and I don't hardly look at the BFRO anymore, but for years, Matt Moneymaker was pretty much keeping all of those reports off of the off of the feed that goes out to everybody, and I didn't think that was right. Eventually, I left the BFRO, but there's so many instances where Bigfoot, UFOs, orbs, or other paranormal things happen, and I don't think we can discount all that kind of stuff. It's definitely all associated, and there's many different opinions on why that might happen. And one of them, the UFOs may affect the electromagnetic field. I know, Doug, you didn't want to talk about paranormal stuff.
Well,
but
no,
a lot of,
the main reason is Jim and you guys already covered all that.
Right, yeah.
Like a few days ago. But then, well, let's try to stick to some other stuff.
I mean, if they have the ability to cloak, which a lot of people think they do, maybe when a UFO comes in, or they're curious about a UFO too, the UFO affects the electromagnetic field and disrupts their ability to cloak, and therefore they show up. I know Al Berry and Ann Slade in their book, Bigfoot, which was published years ago, and I talked to Al about this. He and Ron and I, before he passed away, have been friends for a long time. And he said that they did a study out in Lancaster, where Lancaster, California, which is out in the high desert, where people saw a UFO on top of a power pole, almost like it was getting power from the transformers that were up there. And then it took off and went away. And in the next few days, there was just tons of Bigfoot sightings around that area, even later on that night. So I think the UFO creates some sort of thing that either tracks the Bigfoot or they're already there and we can just see them now.
And that's interesting. The Niagara River, where we were doing the byways to Bigfoot, there's been a lot of orb and light activity at that river. But I found out the other day that there's a house really close to there with a lot of UFO sightings from that area. But the house has been struck by lightning 11 times. Now that's just an anomaly. It's just
actually
unreal.
That's interesting, because here on the Vortex grounds, if I walk the state land and the Forest Service land all around, I can barely find a tree that's been hit by lightning. And we've had 11 lightning strikes on the grounds here, where the electromagnetic field here draws the lightning in, or what, we don't know, but that's a correlation there. And if you went to that house, you took an EMF meter, a compass, something like that, you might find that there is an EMF anomaly there, electromagnetic field anomaly.
And that's also very close to where I saw the orange light and the cattle mutilations also, and other Bigfoot sightings in that area. So
we haven't had a cattle mutilation here because we don't have cattle, but around 18, 20 years ago, when I was first here, I found 2 deer that had been mutilated on the far end of our property. Classic cattle mutilation stuff. And I'm familiar with many of the Blackfoot tribal wardens, and I'm friends with a lot of the sheriffs over on the east side of Montana, where a lot of cattle mutilations happen. And by the way, they're still happening. It just doesn't make the papers like it did when Linda Moulton Howell was doing all her stuff and everything like that. But the wardens over there say that it's not unusual for them to find deer mutilations, bear, elk, moose, also on the reservation itself, or people reporting that. So it's not game animals are getting mutilated too. We just may not always see them because they're further back off the road, or they're not in the field like the cattle.
Interesting. And so mutilated animals. I have one story that I saw. It wasn't really a mutilation, but we had driven or rode horses through an area. Everything was fine. Rode back. There was a huge stink we all got hit with. And then on the same trail we had just rode through, there's a coyote laying in the middle of the trail with its back broken. It was completely alive, but it was paralyzed, as if something had grabbed it and snapped its spine. It's just, how do you explain? There's no way that coyote could have crawled onto that trail. It was put
Were you into Bigfoot? Were you into Bigfoot then, Doug?
Well, that's what we were doing. Yeah, that's what we were doing.
Oh,
we were on horseback looking for.
Did you investigate the area? Did you find footprints or dead deer carcasses?
No, we didn't find footprints.
Like
real rugged area. I think we had some rocks thrown at us in that exact area, though, or near there. There were some rocks that came hurtling.
They throw rocks here.
Yeah.
Little rocks. We think it's just the little kids throwing the rocks here.
Yeah.
Um, the pictures I showed you, or the pictures I sent you, Alex, the one with the footprint in the snow, and then the shelter. I don't know if you can bring that up, but one spring a few years ago, we came home. We spend our winters in Arizona investigating Bigfoot down there. We came back here, and there was snow drifts in different areas. And so what I would do every morning is I'd go out and I'd check the snow drifts looking for tracks. And then around 5 o'clock, I'd go back out again and look at the snow drifts again to see if there was any tracks. So I'd have a time frame. Well, one morning I was out probably about 7 o'clock, and I found that track and another one in a snowdrift about 100 feet from the house. I put my knife in there. You can see it's got a toe and the heel. And then I found kind of a trackway in the moss where there was depressions and stuff. I called my head scientist down. He came down and looked at it. We took some pictures of it, and it was about 10 degrees outside. I couldn't even make an impression in the snow. I mean, it was frozen that hard, and I'm over 200 pounds. He went home because he got too cold, and I decided, well, I can't really go this way up the mountain. So I turned around and I started backtracking, and I went down a big hill that eventually leads down to the Flathead River behind our house. And as soon as I got down there, I saw the shelter that I had sent you, Alex. And there was a couple snowdrifts down there. I don't know if you can call up that picture of the shelter with me in front of it or not. But as soon as I got down there, I found not only did I see the shelter, which appeared to be made, not where just all the trees had fallen down and stuff like that. There was one tree that was put out across a couple other trees, and then brush and everything piled up against it. But I also found a 19-inch footprint down there. So I got a 16.5 footprint on the hill, a 19-inch footprint down there. If you can click the other, go over one more, Alex, the one where I'm not in front of it. That's what the shelter looked like from outside. There's a little round spot in the center right there, and that's actually a small hole, but there was a bush in there evidently, and whatever it was strong enough to yank that bush out of the ground and set it off over to the side.
Wow,
and if
that's
you
interesting.
go to the next, you go to the next one, Alex. The backside of the shelter, you can see something did a lot of work to put all of that stuff up there and create the shelter. The next thing, though, I'd already seen them, but as I walked around the area, I found 5 dead deer carcasses around the shelter. So I got 16.5-inch prints, I got 19-inch prints, and then I have the 5 dead deer carcasses.
Do you often find bark?
A week later,
Joe, I'm sorry, there's a delay.
Yeah.
So do you often find bark hanging like that? That's a piece of bark. Because we do in Minnesota.
That bark has been put up there. Yeah, that bark has been put up there, and all of that stuff has been piled up here. Humans at this time in the wintertime wouldn't have had access to this area, and there is a small 2-track road that goes back in there, but there was still, where the 2-track road comes in, there was still 5 to 6 foot tall snowdrifts on the road, so nobody had been back in there. But the deer carcasses, again, the same thing. All of the deer's neck had been snapped. All of the legs had been broken right at the tail of the tail end of the backbone. And all of them had been, even the bones had been gnawed on, just like picking up a rib, like we'd pick up a rib and eat them. I took Ron Moorhead down there a couple weeks later. He came up to spend a week with us, and he and I kind of agreed early in the spring. We had a small Bigfoot, a big Bigfoot. There was enough for 2 in there, and we kind of thought it could be an early spring birthing shelter where they needed a quick shelter for a female to give birth. We didn't find any evidence of birth, but we both kind of thought that, and obviously they also put the shelter almost right on a game trail that comes off of Columbia Mountain across the road from us, and it's a migration trail, and the deer and elk use that trail to go down to the river. You said
Oh,
about the coyote, though.
Hey, Joe, just hang on a second. Sorry to interrupt, but so all of the shelters that we find in Minnesota are near deer trails, near water. Water's never farther than 500 yards away, and right near deer trails.
Same thing here.
Okay.
There's water right behind this side of the shelter. Just 100 feet away is the Flathead River. There's a spring about another 150 foot away. And so there's plenty of water there. And I've had game cameras on the trail up closer to our place for years. And there's tons of crazy things that happen in there. But there's deer going back and forth in there almost every day, day and night, both, and elk too. And there's a mountain lion that also works that area. But he stays up further up the hill away from this area right here. After Ron left, I went back there a few more times to see if there was any more evidence or anything like that. And I don't know what propelled me to do it, but I just looked up in the air, and about 30 foot up in front of or on top of up in a great big fir tree was a coyote. And it was laying over a branch bigger than my arm, and it was just hanging down. Its head was on one side, its tail was on the other side. And it's like, how in the heck did that coyote get up there unless it was put up there? And I kind of thought there was no predation. I mean, there was no scavenging on any of the deer carcasses that were around there. And I kind of felt like maybe a coyote came in and he was trying to get a free meal. And they just took him up and killed him and put him in up on the top on the branch of the tree.
Will mountain lions grab game and pull it up into a tree like that?
Yes, mountain lions do that, and a lot of times they'll cache them in a tree, like the crotch of a tree or something like that. But this is a big fir tree, probably 40-inch DBH at height, and it's up there a good 30 feet and just hanging over there. And I suspect that the Bigfoot just didn't want him messing with their food supply, and they killed him and they put him up there, kind of as a warning to everybody else around. The interesting thing about that too, we have lots of, there's mountain lion kills here, and we have Bigfoot that take deer. When the mountain lion leaves, everybody comes in and scavenges on the carcass. When the Bigfoot leaves, over a period of time, we just have a pile of bones there, and nobody ever messes with it.
So let's switch gears here, guys.
And those deer carcasses.
I want to switch gears. Linda, you got to interview the Scott Nelson from the Sierra Sounds, who studied them extensively. He obviously had an effect on you, but what are your thoughts on the Sierra Sounds themselves? They're quite powerful, but what are your thoughts?
Well, it was my first introduction to Bigfoot, so it was quite an introduction. I think they are remarkable. Of course, they still don't know 100% that that's Bigfoot because they didn't really see what made the sounds. But if it is Bigfoot, and of course it's been correlated with other areas also, that type of even though that was more dramatic, probably certainly louder and more clear and a longer amount of recorded material. But for me, I felt like sitting with Scott for 6 hours while he's analyzing this and going over all of the information that he held about them. I felt like it was proof, 100% that they had a language. There just wasn't any question about that. But there again, he wouldn't even say that this is definitely Bigfoot, because they didn't see who was creating the sound. And then when I interviewed Ron Moorhead, we all talked about that too, about all of the different things that were happening up there at that camp. And, there were so many things that occurred. It wasn't just the Sierra Sounds. I know that they're known for the Sierra Sounds, but there were so many other things that were happening there, and so many other sounds, period, that were happening besides just that language. That I think you have to put it all in context with the whole experience that they were having.
What part of the Sierra Sounds themselves impressed you or freaked you out? Was there a part of those tapes that
The emotions that they were expressing were so human-like. They were just they were so human-like. The aggression, and then the attempt to probably calm the aggressive one down. And then you could tell one was a female, one was a male. I mean, it was a family argument. That was what I took from it.
And Joe, what did you, obviously there was a time you first heard them, and I know weren't you one of the original investigators that went up to the Sierra camp and tried to look for
I
some?
was the first.
Go ahead.
I had met Al and Ron about a year earlier, and we became good friends and started doing stuff together. And they were trying to get another company to analyze the sounds, and this company was Fauna Communications. They wanted somebody to go up there and see how hard it was to get in, two, to do a forensic study of the area to see if there was any way that the sounds could have been faked, if there was speakers around or nails in trees or speaker wire buried or hung in trees or anything like that. And also whether if they wanted to know if a large bipedal creature could actually live there and support itself off of the flora and fauna that was there. So Alan Ron gave him my name. The scientist contacted me, and then a couple weeks later, Ron and I backpacked in there. We were supposed to ride Ron's horses, but one of the horses went lame. We needed 3 to carry all our supplies in, but we backpacked in, and we have a 6,000-foot mountain across the road from us. We're at 3,000 foot, and it's like if you could go up the side, it's straight up, but the trail switchbacks up the mountain for a couple thousand foot, and it is really a tough climb. And then we got on top. We followed a little trail down there for about a half mile, and then we cut off across country and went 3 or 4 or 5 miles back into the woods where this camp was hidden at. It had been a deer camp for years. So to get up there, one, you would have to know that those guys were going to be up there. They were going to be there at a certain time. You would have to haul speakers and stuff in. Back then, of course, all we had was tape recorders at that point, cassette recorders too, had just come out. And to fake it would be a monumental effort. So I didn't think anybody could do that. Also, I checked every tree around there to see if there was any places for speaker wires. I took a Pulaski and dug a big hole across the whole front of the shelter in several places to see if anything had been buried. Wires had been buried a foot or better under the ground. And I could find no evidence, really no evidence at all that those sounds were faked. And I went right to the areas where the recordings were, the microphone was put out. The trees were a little bigger than when they were there in the 70s, but everything was just the same.
What year did you do this, Joe?
I think it was 2002 or 2003, over 20 years ago now.
Well, what were your first thoughts when you heard the sounds?
Well,
and when did you first hear them?
After my son and I had an experience in Desolation Wilderness with Bigfoot, which I can talk about a little bit because I wanted to talk about scat and stuff like that, diet. But I had filed that report with the BFRO, and right away I got a call from Al Berry, and he said, I usually don't investigate these, but your story rings so true to an experience I had when I was 13 years old in the Desolation Wilderness. Matter of fact, I bet you were camped right where we were camped. And so we talked and stuff, and then he had found out about my background and some of the Bigfoot experience I was having, and he's like, well, I'd really like to get together with you. So I invited him up. We had lunch, and then he said, I got a friend that I want you to meet, Ron Moorhead. So Ron flew in the next weekend, and we spent a lot of time talking and stuff. So that's how we became friends. And then they asked me to go out there, and that's how all of that came about. I wrote a I don't know, I think it's 7-8 page report, sent it to Fauna Communications with my conclusions and stuff. And my conclusion is there's no way it could have been faked. I mean, we just didn't have easy technology to get up there to fake that.
I realize, Joe, but I'm looking for details. What was going on in your head when you were hearing them? What made you think
when I was hearing them,
Bigfoot?
some of the sounds were, I mean, exactly like I had been hearing for the last 20 years in the Sierras. I mean, we had them at our house doing some of the same things. So I wasn't surprised. And I had never got involved in doing a lot of footprints and stuff. I made some castings. Later on, I did some recordings and stuff. But I was really amazed that they had recorded all of this. And the sounds, especially when they're going back and forth with each other, the male and the female, that does show a lot of emotion, and it seems like they are definitely communicating with each other. And when you throw in what Scott Nelson has found, the sentence structure, how they pause, even when they tell a joke and they kind of have a giggle or a laugh, all of that stuff is in there, and Scott has been able to identify that. And I think it's absolutely amazing that he not only got an opportunity to look at that, but some of the conclusions that he's come up with it too. And like, we can't say for sure it's Bigfoot, but I would say there's a pretty good chance it probably is.
Well, we kind of know what it's not. We know it's not a chipmunk, right?
Well, one of the things they were doing with Fauna Communications is they hired one of the best mimics around to try to mimic the sounds.
Yeah.
And this never came out in a report. I don't know why. You'd have to ask Ron about it. But their mimic could not mimic the sounds. The human voice does not have the range to be able to mimic all of those different sounds that were made there. And there's way more sounds than that. Years ago, because Ron's lost all of his tapes in a fire and had to depend on Al's tapes, Al didn't want that to happen again. So he gave me a lot of the recordings too that have never been made public and stuff like that. He said, just keep them. If something happens to Ron or Ron loses his stuff, then we have another set of stuff. But there's a whole bunch more stuff that nobody has ever heard that is phenomenal too.
Did you ever get to meet Al Berry?
I did, yeah. Al and I spent a lot of time together. I lived in the Sierras between Sacramento and Tahoe, and he lived down in the Sacramento area. And so we were close together, and as different reports would come through with the BFRO up in the Tahoe or El Dorado National Forest, he'd call me up, or I'd call him up and say, hey, this is just down the road. Why don't we meet up tomorrow night and go up and check it out and get a hold of the person that did the report? So we spent a lot of time together in the woods investigating sightings and stuff like that.
Interesting. What do you think about audio evidence in general, Linda? Do you think it's some of the best things that we have? Do you think it's maybe not so important because we don't have a Bigfoot making any of the whoops and screams and all this stuff that's been, classified as unknown?
By far, though, it's probably the most evidence that we have is the vocals. I mean, even when people can't find footprints, of course, there are so many of these vocals out there. I think for some, or at least a lot of people that I interview, they may have been hearing these sounds and didn't know what it was. And then once they find out, that other people are saying this is Bigfoot, then that's what I've been hearing all this time. So they may be in areas all over that people are hearing. They just haven't correlated that that's a Bigfoot. But I think that the vocals, I hear that on almost every interview that I do. There are lots of vocals for above and beyond all other evidence.
Yeah, and you would think, I know the voice printing and the spectrograms are getting better and better and better. Mm-hmm. At some point, you would think it would get more scientists interested because they can at least get this audio stuff sent to them real easy, and they can examine it themselves. Mm-hmm. I gave a whole bunch to my son, who's an audio expert, and he's been analyzing it through analog means. I don't know why he said, I'm going to do this through analog. I'm going to analyze these using analog technology. I'm like, go for it, whatever. That's cool. But I just think that the whole mountain of evidence is a lot more than most people think. Don't you guys agree that the average person just doesn't know much?
Right.
I agree. There's so much. I mean, people talk to me and send me stuff all of the time, and there's tons of evidence out there that never makes it on the internet, never pictures that never get on the internet and stuff like that. And a lot of people are afraid to put things on the internet because right away, all of these armchair Bigfoot experts start attacking them and tearing their stuff down and things like that. And a lot of them find it's just not worth it. So they share it around. Some of the things, so the videos we have here have never been seen except here at people that come on tours and stuff like that. And so there's a ton more evidence out there that doesn't get reported. As a matter of fact, I guess we can show this. It was given to me by an older fellow in Chewelah, Washington. The picture I showed you, that I sent you, Alex, with the 2 Bigfoot in it. Oh, maybe you didn't get that yet. I sent it after while you guys were on. I forgot to tell you. I don't know if you can get on your... I sent it to you back on Messenger.
You said there's 2 Bigfoot in it?
So I don't know. Yeah, it's got a picture. Well, it's actually 1 Bigfoot, but the fellow took 2 pictures of it. And it's kind of, it hasn't been shown that much. And I don't know if he eventually showed it to other people. I spoke at a conference over in, I don't know, Sasquatch Summit or something like that. And I was talking about habituating them. And I had said that they like peanut butter sandwiches. And this fellow then was able to get out, and he went to the conference. Well, he lived out in the woods by himself, and he, old guy, gets up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, goes to the bathroom. One night he looks out his bathroom window, and he's got a mercury vapor light outside, and he sees a Bigfoot out there. And the Bigfoot appears to be kind of stiff and awkward, just walking like he's really old. And the old guy kind of felt sorry for him. He goes, like, this guy, can't get around any more than I can. And he remembered I said that they like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So the next day there was a stump out there. He put a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out there. And he said, I never looked at that stump. The only time I looked at it was either the next morning when I got up, either the sandwiches were there or gone, or if I looked out the window. And he said, so I never made an effort to really to catch anything. But one night I looked out the window, and here's a Bigfoot kind of sitting on his haunches, eating the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I don't know if you found that yet, Alex, the thing I sent you, but there's two photos of it. I acquired the photos from his home health nurse.
Sorry to interrupt you, Joe. I don't know if you want to try to resend it. The last thing I see from you is the footprint.
Okay. Anyway,
see if you can send it, Joe. I was going to follow up with Thomas. By the way, Thomas is coming up on an upcoming show. But Thomas mentioned that they had debunked the Chehalis screams as coyote. Was that something David Ellis did by comparing voice prints? I hadn't heard that, and I'm super curious about it. Maybe Thomas can follow up on that. Go ahead, Joe.
Dave has done so many things, and I don't know on that particular one. I hadn't heard that, but it could be possible. I mean, he's gotten pretty good at what he does and being able to break things down, so it could be a possibility.
Yeah, we definitely have to try to apply science to the recordings and any evidence we have. So it's important at least to try. Doesn't mean we're going to get answers this time around, but we are trying. We are trying. So do you think that this mystery will come to an end by finding a body, Linda? Do you think it'll come by a truck hitting one or an electric car that comes around a corner silently? How do you think this thing might get solved?
Well, I think it's going to take a body before a lot of people are going
Yeah.
to believe that it's true. But, they have avoided that for a very long time, it seems. But, I interviewed someone the other day that said they were reading a history book from the 1930s. And in this history book, they were talking about a Bigfoot that was shot and turned into some lab or something, but it was the 1930s. I'm thinking, was this for real? This was a college level history book that was written in the 1930s, and it was a guy's father, and he was a child, but as he was talking to his dad, his dad was explaining this to him, and of course they've lost the history book now, so they don't know, where that was. But, there may have been periodically a Bigfoot that was available, but, and these days, I'm not sure that it would ever actually make it to a public knowledge basis, even if one was found. So,
I sent it to you again, Alex, that photo, but for some reason it's not going through even from my end. So
how do you think this is going to get solved, Joe? I just asked Linda.
Well, I think,
do you think it'll be an accident by a semi or logging truck, or do you think it's going to be a hunter, or none of the above could possibly even happen?
I think it's a good chance it could be a car or a semi truck more than anything else. Hunters, they know where, unless you just you just walked up on one and shot it. But you see what happens. What's the cabin over there by Mount St. Helens where the miners shot the Bigfoot there, and then that night all the Bigfoot came in and started throwing rocks and stuff like that. Plus, too, more than likely, it's if you shoot it with the type of ammunition that we're using today, they're so big it's probably not going to kill it unless you had exactly a hard shot. And I would think that the body would be removed. Or the person would be scared off long before somebody had an opportunity to harvest it and take it out of the woods. But a truck hitting one on the road and getting out and taking pictures and stuff like that, and that could be the way that it finally happens. However, there's the other possibility is that we might just make friends with them at some point in time. Yeah. There's people that have meaningful relationships with these beings right now that some of them have been written about.
Oh, it's what they claim.
Yeah, that's what they claim. And if we look at all the evidence we're having here where we live, they're having the same sort of thing that's pretty well documented and stuff like that. So even my wife, Tammy, she's been given information from them telepathically, talking about the area and what we do and stuff like that. And there tend to be more women that get contacted by the beings than men. And perhaps it's the intention thing again. They trust the women. They know their intentions is probably not to hurt them or do anything. And so they make contact with the females more than males.
The problem is with that, with those claims, of course, is how does one differentiate between your own mind and some thoughts coming in? How would she describe it to prove to you that it's not her own thoughts? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I could sit there and go get the pickles at the grocery store. That's how do you know it's coming from an outside
I know
source?
she's pretty intuitive and has those type of abilities.
And I'm not doubting her, Joe. I'm not doubting her.
I understand what you're saying, but for her, the experience was so real, and she felt that the being, we're assuming it was a Bigfoot, based on what it told her, was in the room at that time.
Wow.
And both of us they come in the house whenever they want to here. And we have some evidence of them in the house. They'll push the bed down, put their knee on the bed. You feel the bed going down.
So you're
and
talking
then
about
what if-
invisible creatures at this point.
I'm
completely
talking about
invisible.
invisibility, yeah, but there's
Yeah.
been a couple times where we rolled over and there was this black outline of a 8-foot tall being at the end of the bed, and so they have the ability to come and go. And
All right, so but I got to stop you there because I want to go back to the. We didn't really finish up with the psychic stuff. Linda, you are a psychic, correct?
Yeah, but
So
I wasn't always, and I learned how to do
Well,
that.
explain my question then, or
Okay.
maybe expound on.
The best way that I can say that the difference between your thoughts and something that's external to your own personal thoughts, and those are really difficult things to have discernment with, and I think you have to be very cautious about that. But I can say that usually it'll be out of context. It's verbiage that you would normally use. It would be something that is not in the train of thought for the pattern of like that moment you're doing something and a thought comes to mind. But also, I don't know if in one isolated incident I would know that, but if it's over a period of time that you begin to have a dialogue, you begin to have an understanding of that type of communication. Now, I teach people to do this, but it is a matter of focusing in on being able to have discernment between your own thoughts and something external to yourself. And that's a very difficult thing to do. And it just takes a lot of practice to, and even still for me, I mean, I always second guess all of those things, but actually it was a Bigfoot that came and said, Linda, your life's going to change. And whether that was true or not, I don't know. But it was like within the week, there it was, the conference. We'd never had a Bigfoot conference in this area.
That's interesting, yeah. I mean,
and then there was Scott Nelson, and it just kind of took off from there. I
was interested in ESP when I was a little kid, guys.
Yeah.
My sister introduced me to it, explained what it was, and then she had apparently watched some Kreskin thing or who knows. But I was just like, oh my God, my eyes must have been as big as saucers when she was explaining all of this. And I had one experience in my life that may be what your wife's describing, Joe. I don't know. I'll tell you my story. I've never told this story. I had started my TV career. Everything had worked so easy. It just fell into place. So like by the time I had the idea to have a TV show, I had a TV show within a week on the air. Like you just can't think of that. And it just happens. Well, it had been on the air a number of weeks. I was probably into my 9th episode or whatever. And I'm driving home from the edit suite and I'm tired. I'm worn out. I'm hungry. I just want to go home and work until 3 a.m. And all of a sudden I just thought in my own head, I asked a question. I said, God, this seems like it's all working out so amazingly easy. Like everything falls into place. And I swear to God, I heard a voice in my back seat of a man's voice that said, someday you will understand, in a deep man's voice. Now, it sounded like it reverberated in my head. I've never had an experience like that since. I don't necessarily say, I can say, well, yeah, I went on to do Monster Quest. And, I had a pretty successful career, but was that what the message was? Or was it did that man's voice just originate in my own head? You know what I'm trying to say? Was that real? So there you go, Joe. I've puzzled over that my whole life. But I looked in the back seat.
Nobody there.
Nobody was there.
Yeah. And maybe it just came through the ether. Maybe it wasn't in the back seat. Or maybe was it audible? You could hear it? Or did you just hear it in your head?
It was like, I could hear it, but it was like in my head.
In your head,
stereo.
yeah.
Is that what your wife describes?
Well, yeah, it's she heard it in her head. It's like the term in the Bigfoot world is Mindspeak. And I've experienced it. I've experienced it one time here, and other people have experienced it. You hear the words in your head as if they're talking to you in the English
language. Like you have an earbud in your ear.
Like you have an earbud in okay. Yeah. And it's
Linda,
not
is that
audible.
earbud in the ear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time years
It
ago, I
sometimes
was
is annoying.
I would walk around outside and I'd take pictures at night trying to catch orbs and other entities and stuff like that. And I followed the trail around behind our property and stuff. And I might be down there at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And there's some stairs you have to go down the trail to get to the bottom. And I got to the top of the stairs and I took a photo and there was a great big orb there. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I took another photo, no orb. So I started walking down like I normally do. And as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, I got hit in the chest with something. It wasn't like a hand, but it felt like a hand hit me or an energy field. And it kind of pushed me back. And right then in my head, it said, don't come down here tonight. And I backed up and it's like, whoa. And I went back a couple, 2 or 3 feet, took another picture, nothing there. And I thought, well, I'm not afraid. I do this every night. It's pitch black. I started again and I got hit in the chest again. And the same thing, don't come down here tonight. So I walked up the trail back towards the house and the gift shop. And I stood up there for a few minutes and I thought, well, this is mind over matter. I'm going to go down there. So I took off again. And this time I put some speed on it. When I got to the top of the steps, boom, I got smacked really hard. Wow. And then this deep voice said, don't come down here tonight. And I turned around, I left, went back in the house. Next morning, I was down there first thing in the morning. Everything was fine. So whatever it was, whether there was a grizzly down there or some other thing going on, there was something there that was communicating to me or felt that I might be in danger and told me not to come down there that night.
All right, Linda.
And that's
so
the first and only time I've had the mind speak.
What are your thoughts on his experience?
What I want to suggest to Joe is, did you ask why? Did you think of asking them why? That you could start a conversation.
Not at that time, but the next day I asked why and whatever, and I didn't get a response. Compared to Bigfoot, we're primitive. We think they're primitive because they live in the woods and all this kind of stuff. And I relate it to the going into the Amazon years ago or going into Africa and meeting with tribes and giving them shiny objects and doing stuff like that, trying to make contact. And I think they kind of look at us as the tribes, and they leave us rocks and feathers and shiny things and something that Toby Johnson has in Oregon or Washington shows up at our place, stuff like that. So they're kind of toying with us as if we're primitive and we don't have the ability to actually communicate with them and be on their level. And so,
but Joe,
one of the things over the years I developed.
Joe, I have to interrupt you only because how do you don't you leave any room for you might be wrong in your life?
Oh,
or
yeah.
you just, I'm just
I'm just telling you my experiences.
Right.
And
I realize
everybody has the same experiences. But as we do programs like this, I guarantee you there's somebody out there that night that's had some sort of the experiences that we're talking about here. And they just may not have had the opportunity to be on a program like this to be able to tell people about it. And that's why these kind of things are good, because it opens up the pathways for other people to feel comfortable maybe talking about their experiences. And that's, like Linda said, that's how we gain more knowledge, whether it's about Bigfoot or UFOs or other paranormal things that are happening. When we start comparing notes, pretty soon we have a pretty good body of evidence based on experiences and stuff like that. So I could be wrong. But
well, here's my question to both of you. And I can only relate it to the one experience I had way back in the 90s. Or no, it was actually in the 80s, like 1986 probably. Why did it only happen one time? And I've never had it happen since. What was the weird thing that happened the one time I hear a voice in my head? And it seems so, to get me to look in the back seat in the middle of the night while I'm driving, That was creepy because I expected to see somebody back there and there wasn't.
Have
But
you
how do I?
asked? Have you asked for more communication?
No, I didn't. So is that the problem?
Maybe you go down to center, you do a meditation, and you ask for contact.
There you go.
Maybe.
Well, see, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I'm already getting teased already, though.
That's all right.
Thanks, Hilton.
But there's other people that may have heard that voice in the back seat too, and they're like you. You said you've never talked about it before, so that's good
never.
because it opens up a pathway for other people to relate their experiences.
I've told close friends, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you recognize the voice? That's one thing I would ask. Did you recognize?
No, it just seemed like a very deep, rich, really nice, soothing, deep, rich voice. You know,
years ago, I used to teach the Silva
like the Allstate guy.
Yeah, yeah. Years ago, I used to teach the Silva method of ESP, and I would over a weekend period of time, we had to guarantee that they would have an ESP experience before they left, or we give them their money back, which was $400 back in the early '80s. It was a lot of money for a 2-day little thing, and we never had to give them money back because everybody following the Silva method had an ESP experience. And then if you continued on with that, it's deep meditation and clearing your mind. When we have so much money.
Joe, you don't look like the kind of guy that just sits there and clears his mind.
Well, I do.
You look like the kind of guy chopping wood. What the hell?
No, I've had my share of chopping wood. Now I pay somebody to do it, but
you just don't look like that new age guy that's
what people don't understand is our thoughts are energy. Yeah. Every single thought we think is electrons that are firing between the synapses of our brain.
Okay, I'm going to shut up now. I want you and Linda to go at. You guys need to
scientists have
pretend
shown
me and Alex aren't here. Linda, take
those
over.
Electrons.
I can't handle Joe anymore.
He's really doing a good job, though. I have to agree with a lot of what he's saying.
I'm joking,
because,
Joe.
I mean, our thoughts are only vibrations, and you know, it's like my voice is a vibration too. So my thoughts are vibration. You just have to learn to listen with something beside your ears.
Yeah.
Right,
and if you listen with your mind, and your heart really is probably more invested in that whole process than your head, but really it's a vibratory thing, and you just learn to listen to a different vibration.
So everything he's saying, you agree with?
I pretty much.
I mean, it's called entanglement. In quantum physics, it's called entanglement. And we know that electrons can entangle with each other. Once they're entangled, you can move this electron over here and change the polarity of this electron. And an electron 1,000 miles away will instantly change polarity.
That's been proven, but they don't know why it works.
Well, we experience it all the time. How many times have you ever thought about somebody and a minute later you get a phone call? You talk about somebody you hadn't seen, you go to the store 10 minutes later, you run into them. So we're constantly sharing information and messages with each other and the universe.
I manifested a lot of food last night.
Yeah.
And I unmanifested a lot of food.
By the way, Alex, just so you know,
donuts too.
Just so you know, not only did Alex's food come to me by mistake, but a big giant loaf of homemade sourdough bread showed up. A bottle of wine showed up. These are all different people. And a big can of Invicta beer showed up. All this stuff in one night. We had all this food and all this drink. Like, what the hell?
The universe is providing.
We didn't. Yeah, that's exactly what Yvette said. She goes, Jesus just provided. I'm like, okay. So it was just nuts. Anyhow, I'm sorry.
You know, the whole thing, it's a law of attraction. When you raise your vibrations to the vibration of what you're trying to attract, then you increase the possibilities of those things coming to you. And Linda knows, you said you've done remote viewing and you do psychic stuff, and you mentioned it. It's all about vibration. What vibration are we on that we want to attract things to us?
And learning to harmonize. I mean, whenever I was learning to be psychic, you know, I didn't know what to do. And, you know, I think someone asked me at one point, well, what is it once I kind of had passed that threshold to be able to do more? Someone said, well, what is it that you do? And it's like, I started trying to explain, well, I take control and I do this. And I say, oh, no, that's not what I do at all. What I really do is just harmonize. You know, if you can get on that same vibration, you become the same energy. and once you're the same energy. And this is why some people can probably communicate with Bigfoot and some people can't, because you have to somehow meet that energy, that harmony with them in order to have that kind of communication. And you have a vibratory communication long before you will have Mindspeak communication. So that's why, some people see them, some people don't see them, some people, I think even though they may be there physically, people will pass them by and never see them because they just are so far removed from being capable of seeing them.
I want to say one thing. First off, I didn't intend to do a paranormal show tonight.
I know, that's what
just on Bigfoot, but I give up. That's the direction it's heading. So let's just go with it.
Like you're saying, I agree with you, but we have so much monkey chatter going on in our heads all day long. We're worrying about doing the show tonight. We're worrying about paying the bills. I got a business I'm trying to open up. And until we clear our mind through meditation or taking a walk in the woods or whatever, we don't allow those messages to come in. And so the key of all of this is clear your mind, meditate a little bit, and when you've cleared your mind, then you'll have more opportunity to hear the messages that come in, and you can't discount them. If you get some feeling or you get a voice in your head that says something, you need to make a note of that and see what happens, because it could come true.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do believe, I'm starting to kind of buy into this manifesting thing, where things just show up and, you find there's a bank mistake, you need money and there's a bank mistake. Oh, there's a refund check from the insurance company for $1,000. It's just kind of weird.
What I found also is that it tends to happen on an as needed basis. I mean, it's not just like anything that you think of. What I've noticed is, like, when you need something, it will appear, there it is. It's kind of like this point of golden opportunity, it will just come along when you need it. But if I can think all day long on something and it may not happen, it's a strange thing. But there again, it's like when the heart asks rather than just the want.
Well, I really need a clear close-up film footage of Bigfoot. That's what I really need in my life right now.
Let's manifest it.
Yeah.
Clear, close-up, beautiful film footage.
In a few months, there's going to be a documentary coming out, and Tammy and I have recorded some Bigfoot activity here. We actually put a camera in and told them the camera was there, told them we're not trying to fool them, and we asked them to come in and show themselves and show the world what they really are. And I think this documentary that's going to come out in 3, 4, 5 months is going to be phenomenal. When people see it, I think they really have shown the world what they are and what the abilities that they have.
Interesting. Super interesting. So, all right, Linda, your turn to ask Joe a question.
Oh, well.
Or Joe, you ask Linda a question.
Oh, I thought Linda was going to ask me first.
Yeah, go ahead, Linda. Ask Joe a question.
I'm very Oh, okay.
There's this delay. Sorry, Joe. Just take a little longer pause between whatever you're doing. Then that pause won't bother us. Go ahead, Linda.
Well, Joe, it sounds like that you've had a lot of communication with Bigfoot. So tell me some of the things that Bigfoot has told you.
Good question.
Actually, the only communication I've had, Mindspeak or anything like that, is just what I heard on the trail that night. Don't come down here tonight. I've
what about your wife?
Had them talk to me or do anything else like that. She gets it occasionally, but not very often. And mostly it's about what's going on here, how we're teaching people about energy and quantum physics and the world. And also how we take care of the place. Our place is absolutely pristine. We pick up every little thing, and they told her that they like that, and they're really disappointed in humanity that other people aren't doing that. That we're actually destroying the planet that they live on also, and they don't like that.
I'm purposely being really quiet.
Still here.
I'm waiting for Linda to hit him with another question.
Well, it's Joe's turn to ask me a question.
You guys interview each other. I'm serious. I'm not joking.
Well, Linda, I'm very interested in remote viewing because of the psychic things, and I totally believe in remote viewing. But you said you had never had a paranormal experience.
Well, I've
That
had
orange
a few paranormal
ball town.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like, but I haven't like seen a ghost. I felt a ghost, but I haven't seen a ghost. You know, I've had a lot of psychic experiences, but I haven't, seen a Bigfoot. I haven't seen a UFO. I've traveled the country to try to see UFOs, and I haven't seen one other than that one orange light that I didn't know I was looking at, some type of a UFO, possibly. That was over the animal mutilations, but they're not common in my world. Like a lot of people see stuff all the time. Every day I'm interviewing people, and they see all kinds of creatures and critters and things, or feel something in their home. And that sort of thing just doesn't happen to me. I live pretty normal, boring life for the most part. Mostly I'm interviewing things, but I do the psychic stuff, and that in that realm, all of these things come forward. It's like there's some form of communication. It's not disturbing, but it's just present.
Joe?
Very interesting.
I think Joe's picture locked. Oh, there he is.
There, I moved.
There you go.
He was locked up.
There's another thing I wanted to tell you now, and it's not so much paranormal, but I wanted to include it because you ask about the biology of Bigfoot, and many people go back and forth on the internet
let's get
saying,
into that.
well, what do they eat? Well, they eat everything a bear eats, or this or that, or whatever. And I'm not sure about that. And two things. One, over the years, I've been able to interview some people that have actually seen them eating something. One catching ground squirrels in a rock quarry and appearing to eat them. Another person saw them reaching up and pulling down alder branches and taking the new shoots off of the alder branches and eating those. So I think personally, I think they're omnivores, and they have a wide range of foods that they can eat in the woods, including deer, elk, or any other type thing. But one of my sons and my experiences in the Sierras, we had hiked in the north end of Desolation Wilderness, which hardly anybody goes into in California. And it's just over the hill from Lake Tahoe. And we decided we were going to hike out of this Glacier Canyon and go up and see on the Pacific Crest Trail, where there are a lot of Bigfoot sightings, and see if we could look at Lake Tahoe and stuff. And as we're climbing out, it's about a 2,000-foot climb over rock, granite and stuff. My son, he was about 13 then, he finds a scat that was about 18 inches long and about this big around, just laying on the ground on a glacier moraine. And he's like, "Dad, what is this? I mean, look how big the scat is." He didn't say that. He said turd. But anyway, I came over and looked at it, and it's like, whoa. And he goes, "Dad, this must be the biggest grizzly bear in California." And I go, "No, Matt, we don't have any grizzlies in California." And being raised with a biologist, the first thing he did is he took a stick and he broke it all up. And we couldn't find anything in the scat. We couldn't find hair, bone, anything at all, any type of vegetation. So we went up a little bit further. He found another scat. It was the same thing. We went up a little bit further, and he finally found the third scat. And all of them were the same. When you broke it up, there was nothing in there. Well, you're talking about a scat that's this big around. I mean, this long and about this big around. It's a very large creature that left that there. And later on, Al Berry and I were talking about it, and Al mentioned to me, he said, there's only two species that masticate their food, humans and great apes. And so not finding anything in there could be an indication that they're either great apes or they're humans, and we're so closely related, it could go both ways. And other people that have found scat, some people have said, "Oh, we found all kinds of things in it." And I kind of think that's probably a bear But the ones where I've interviewed people and they haven't found anything, I think that probably would be a Bigfoot.
So would meat, obviously a Bigfoot wouldn't eat bones. I wouldn't think. They might suck the marrow out. But wouldn't just eating a meat diet of clean of any bones and fur, I wouldn't think a Bigfoot would eat fur like a wolf. Wouldn't that also just be a very fine grained poop?
It could be, but I mean, you look at any type of animal scat, wolf, bear, whatever.
I've done a
break
lot
it
of bear
open, you can usually
scat
tell what they're
analysis.
eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this, we could not find one single blade of grass or anything in there. And I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot poop, but it was big enough that if it is, there's a giant bear there, a cave bear or something like that nobody's seen in the Sierras yet. So.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. The whole poop thing is crazy only because of I've heard from very reputable people who are also biologists that claim they have found them 3 foot long by the size of a coffee can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
this one was these were only about 18 inches, so not quite that long.
That's still pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty big. Yep. I don't know. Somebody says, John Ayers, of course, we have the funniest chat group ever, said it was Taco Bell. Taco Bell. Thanks, John, for that comment. We really appreciated that.
You know, a few years ago, my son was hunting in the Sierras, and there was a big oak tree there, and he looked up, and he had Bigfoot experiences most of his life, growing up with me and in the Sierras. And he's not out looking for Bigfoot, but he became very observant. And there's a big oak tree there, and he noticed way up in the oak tree, branches as big as my arm had been pulled down and just ripped off of the oak tree. And they were full of acorns. It was a black oak, which has big acorns, and they were piled on the ground over here. And all of the acorns appeared, he couldn't find a rock around or anything like that, but they'd all appeared to be smashed, either where they smashed them with their hand or something else. And the acorns were eaten, and all of the acorn shells were still there. But he said there probably was a good 20 branches that had been ripped off the tree. Well, I could probably hang on those branches, and I'm not going to do a big rip in this with the bark or anything. And he said he continued on down. He couldn't find prints or anything like that. He continued on down this ridge line, still hunting for deer. And about 100 yards away, he found a massive pile of diarrhea where, it was just, and it had, in this case, it had acorns in it that had been chewed up and stuff, but obviously not chewed up enough. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, when we and Linda eat acorns, we always shell them too, right, Linda?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't like the shells. Alex likes the shells. I don't.
I love the shells.
Yeah, they're
Alex
good.
is the shell guy. Acorn shells. Anyhow, can we quickly let's do the tech breakdown. I promised we'd do it. You guys can chime in at any moment, argue with me, whatever. I'm going to make this really brief, but very concise, which is why I like doing these things, because I have opinions on what we need. So the first one, we don't need the bumper, Alex.
No bumper?
No bumper.
All right.
All right, go ahead and run the bumper quick. Do it.
Oh, I can? All right, we're going to do it. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. I get asked this question. If I get asked, it's probably 5 times a week about audio recorders. What audio recorder to buy? Which one to do? Which one's the best? Should I be using parabolic? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? And here's my answer, just straight up. Get a Zoom H1N1 because they're the cheapest, and they have, throw up Photo 20. Throw up Photo 20. They have great omnidirectional mics going opposite directions. I've had the best luck with these. They're very simple to operate. They actually have a damn record button and a red light that comes on the moment you hit it. You know it's going. You place it out. It'll record many, many hours of audio, so you can set the level. Don't buy a $399. Don't spend $60. Spend $100, but don't go spend $400 because here's why. You're going to be much better. Don't you agree, Joe? You're going to have much better luck with 5 recorders out than 1. So you can have one really expensive one. Go put 5. You've got that much money. Go buy 5 of them and place them all over because you can triangulate the sound, put numbers on each mic. Take a marker and number each one, number 2, number 3. Waterproof them if you think it's going to rain with just a baggie, or cellophane works good too. They're IP65 rated. So that's my answer.
I like
What,
I
go
like
ahead,
the
Joe.
H1N1. I don't have one right now, and mostly over the years, I've used small Sony recorders that you can buy off the shelf at Walmart.
Yep, they work too. They do.
They work good, and they have you can hook up a parabolic dish to them, which we have a couple of those. And also, they're voice activated, or they're activated by sound. So you don't pick up a lot of other stuff unless there's a sound or something in that area right there. And I could put out 2 or 3 of those, like you say, or 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, you're better off with more.
Yeah, for the
than
cost of one H1N1. And I'm not saying that's not good, because I think it is too. But I like the small Sony recorders.
Yeah, and they do work. I've used those for years before they came out with the Zoom H1. But the sound quality between the two, this is 32-bit float. It's really amazing because you listen to a Zoom recording and you put headphones on, man, it's like you're there. It's amazing. I have so many Zoom I have so many of these. It's insane. I probably have, just looking at 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I got them everywhere. Go ahead and throw that photo 21 up, Alex.
21.
Photo 21. Instead of an H2, you can get an H4. I don't recommend it. You're wasting $100.
What are you supposed to get out of this one? Like, what's the...
Oh, it does other things. You can, you've got more inputs for, condenser mics and things. You don't need that crap
It's
for Bigfoot research.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to decide, are you doing Bigfoot research or do you want to record some soundtracks, with your voice?
So if you had the extra money, would you be better off getting more of the other one, the cheaper one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even Joe's idea is fine. Go to Walmart if that's what, but try to get multiple ones. That's the key. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Get multiple recorders. You're going to have better luck. For some reason, Linda, Joe, they are not afraid of audio recordings. I don't know why. It just seems like they just go to town. They don't care. But the cameras, they freak out. I don't know. It could be their mind reading. I don't know. So go to photo 23. I just want to quickly talk about parabolic mics. Okay, and this is why, I don't like parabolic mics ever. Take your parabolic mic and sell it and buy some Zoom H1s or some of Joe's smaller Sony cam or Sony recorders. Here's why. Unless you can see the Bigfoot, the parabolic mic will do more harm than good. They're for bird watchers. They're for people who can aim it at the creature they're trying to record. That's where a parabolic mic is for. It's not for, if you're even, like if a creature is, let's say, 50 yards away, 25 yards, if you're an inch off, you're going to be, basically sucking wind. You're not going to get the good recording. You get so many recordings that get sent to me. I recorded this with my parabolic. Can you enhance it? And I listened to it, and I'm like, dude, you should have had a Zoom H1, an omnidirectional mic. It's why you didn't get anything. Because you can't see the Bigfoot, so you don't need a parabolic mic. So that's my opinion on parabolics for Bigfoot research. Don't get one. Sell them if you have them. Buy a new sleeping bag. Buy something nice for your wife. Sell the pinball. You don't need it. Anybody
Linda?
rebuke me?
Oh no, I have a couple of them. I only really use one, and I don't use it all the time.
They're great for bird watching, but
Right.
Joe, if you don't know the exact location of the Bigfoot making the audio recording, even if you're just a little off, you're still better with an omnidirectional.
Yeah,
Because-
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, parabolics are extremely accurate. And they do work really good, but they're just for general Bigfoot research, no. All right, next. An idea. I get a lot of questions. I had another one this week from somebody. I want to get a camera that we don't have to go back and keep disturbing the area. So go ahead and throw up extra photo 2, Alex. That's what I labeled it, extra photo. Then I'm done. That's my last rant on technology. Okay. So this is something that I would get if you don't want to go back and be disturbing the area, changing batteries, although this is a very, very visual camera. They're going to spot this so quick, but it's got solar panel. It takes a SIM card, so it'll send you live images, use cell phone data. Perfect camera if there's good cell phone reception. But here's what I recommend you do. Find a power line cut. Find where there's like a power line cut through the middle of the woods, and you can get permission and put this on a power line pole. Put it up really high, like 20 feet. Now it's doesn't matter because there's crap all over power line poles, man-made stuff. So maybe they're not going to notice it. They're not going to care, but they're definitely used as travel ways. So if you can get permission, put it on a power line pole itself. If not, find a nearby tree. Definitely do not put this camera on a power line pole, a wooden power line pole without permission, right? They're dangerous. But and that's it. Joe, Linda,
have you ever captured anything on your game cameras, Bigfoot related?
Sure, but it's always a part. It's always a profile, an arm, a hand, a fist. Just nothing I'd want to show the public.
Right.
To me, I'm looking for the Nat Geo shot where you look at it and you go, "That's the ticket. That's it." You know.
Have you ever asked them to show themselves?
No, I have not, but I want them to.
Yeah, ask them to.
All right. Well, what is it going to hurt, right, Joe?
Yeah,
right?
Tell them what your intentions are. See if they respond. Years ago when I was really into game cameras and stuff, both in the Sierras and here, I never caught anything. And there's some people out on the Olympic Peninsula. I don't know. They probably still have 80 cameras out, and they still haven't caught anything either. Because let
me interrupt you, because it's perfect time for me to interrupt you, Joe, and make issue with what you just said. Nobody had ever gotten a giant squid. I grew up them people trying to get a giant squid on video.
Oh yeah.
Millions of dollars, every kind of thing you think of. And I had a dumb idea and thought, I know what to do. And I did it. And first time out, we got the footage.
Mm-hmm.
First time an Architeuthis ducks had ever been filmed.
Yeah.
And yet hundreds and not thousands of men had tried with tons of money, and we didn't hardly have any money to deal with it. So just because something doesn't work for the first 190 times doesn't mean it'll never work.
No,
There's always going to be the one Bigfoot that's thinking about sex that day. He's just thinking about sex. He's not thinking about those damn games. There's no perfect animal. Don't you guys agree? There can't be no perfect creature in the universe. There can't be.
Well, there's a range of intelligence, probably even in the Bigfoot community.
That's wisdom right there, Joe.
Yeah. So years ago, I put out lots of cameras, even here. And I had one camera I put out, probably a half mile from the house on a game trail.
Right.
And I had it about 10 foot off the game trail, not looking up or down it. I just wanted to see anything that went by it. And I don't know, about a week later, I went back and there was 2 birch logs, a good 10 inches in diameter that were placed across the trail about 20 foot before I got to my game camera. Well, there was some dead birch there, and I thought, well, it could be deadfall, what's the chances? So I took the game, nothing was on it. I took the game camera, I moved it down the trail about 100 yards, put it back up. A week later, I go back out there, and there's a big birch log across the trail about 20 foot from the game camera. Yeah, it could be deadfall. So I moved it further, about a quarter of a mile down. Same thing happened a week later. Now I move it out in the field and mount it on a little fir tree in this big meadow, and no birch anywhere around. You can see where I walked in, and nothing has been disturbed. I went back a week later, and here about 20 foot from the game camera where you couldn't see anything that was on it, there was a great big birch log across the area that I walked.
Wow.
And it's kind of like, hey, get the message. We know
exactly. I've had that happen to me, stuff like that.
We know the game camera is here. We're not going to come and get on it, and we're just giving you a message. Just forget about it. It's not going to happen.
I've had those
and that
same
again
messages.
shows intelligence.
I have had the messages where they outsmarted you, and they let you know that they outsmarted you. Yeah, I've had that happen. I feel like an idiot every time I do an expedition. But you know what? I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying, keep coming up with new creative ways. I'm generally not like the insane guy that keeps doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Generally, I try to add a new twist each time I do something, and maybe I'll get lucky. It takes luck too. It takes lots of luck. Speaking of luck, people love your show, Linda.
Well, it seems that way. I do have a good following.
You do, and I'm just so shocked that you've only been doing filmmaking since 2018, and you just decided to do podcasting, and realize only 1% of people ever even get over 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
1% of YouTubers.
Mm-hmm.
And you just come out and you're just killing it.
Yeah. Well, and it's all because of Bigfoot. I mean, Bigfoot came along and said, hey,
that's so cool. That's really,
Mm-hmm.
it is really cool. And her podcasts are kind of like podcast documentaries. It's a is there a new word we could invent? Poddoc. Say it, Alex. Come on. Combine podcast with documentary. We got to coin a phrase for Linda.
Podumentary.
Podumentary. That's it.
There you go.
That's a new phrase, never been heard in world history. Podumentary. That's it, Alex.
And we're trademarking it tonight.
Yes, it'll be all copyright. Exactly. Podumentary.com has already been registered. No. But that's what Linda does, correct? I mean, that's what you do.
That's what I like to do. A lot of, I think I have a different style. I wasn't a person who listened to podcasts. So when I first started, I wasn't even on there. My voice wasn't even on there. I just let people tell their story. So it's kind of developed its own style, and it's like story time. It's like,
yes.
Joe, you'll have to come on and tell all of your stories. You have a lot of good stories to talk about.
Oh, thank you, Linda. I haven't listened to your podcast or YouTube yet, but I will.
Her podumentary.
Podumentaries.
Yeah.
Say
what
that 3 times really quick.
What is the exact name of your? And we'll put a link. Alex, make sure there's a link to Linda's channel in our description.
It's just my name. It's just Linda Eastburn YouTube channel. So it's
pretty easy.
Just type in Linda Eastburn, you'll find it. And maybe the word Bigfoot once in a while, you'll find it.
Bigfoot's usually associated with me at this point.
Yeah, and go to her channel. Her stuff's great. But anyhow, Joe, we gotta have you back, because we didn't really touch on. We touched on a lot of stuff, but we could do more, right? Way more.
Oh, I think so.
We'll have you back. And I'm just sometimes I just let's combine people. Let's do that. And
I've had a lot of fun. I thought it was great.
It was fun. I'm gonna have to really think about this Mindspeak stuff. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll get some tonight. And Alex, we're going to put a game trail camera in your kitchen to see what goes on in the kitchen.
And see how I screw up DoorDash orders.
No, well, just to see how many times you go to the refrigerator, that kind of stuff. If you get up in the middle of the night and go to the refrigerator. We're going to put a game. Everybody votes for it. Game trail camera in Alex's kitchen.
That'll be for our members only.
And Joe, where do you have any books out, Joe?
I don't have a book yet. I'm working on my first one and second one at the same time. The first one will be Keeper of the Vortex.
Oh, cool.
And hopefully it will be coming out. I thought I'd have it done by now, but I got different things happen, and it's going to be coming out soon.
Okay.
And it's based on the experiences here at the Montana Vortex.
And can people watch you on YouTube somewhere? Do you have a podumentary somewhere?
No, I don't have one yet. Everybody tells me I should have one, but I don't have one yet.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take some pointers from you guys and Linda and maybe start one. Dave Paulides was here the other day, and he's like, "How come you don't have a YouTube channel?" He goes, "I'll be your first guest."
That's just what we need is another podcast, right?
I know, yeah. I'm so busy usually, especially in the wintertime. In the summertime, we're so busy here at the Vortex that we don't have time to watch podcasts or anything like that. And we might sneak in a Skinwalker Ranch or something, but I mean, we're packed all summer long, and people coming here, and I invite you all to come here. The Montana Vortex is probably one of the most, on any given day, it could be one of the most paranormal places in North America. I can't guarantee you'll have a paranormal experience, but you'll certainly feel the energy of the Vortex, and our tours are just outstanding. People love them.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sounds like
by the
good
way,
time.
somebody Rockland said I just subscribed, and he's going to head over and start binge watching your podumentaries.
Great.
So there you go. So we got to get that word to catch on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a flop, but you never know. It might go viral, that word.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
trying to
everybody.
think here what I need to do. So I like to leave everybody with a little bit of wisdom. My wisdom is every morning you got two choices, right? You can just continue to sleep in the morning, stay in bed, or you can get up and start chasing those dreams like Linda did and like Joe did, who owns this amazing place in Montana. So, and Alex just had one of his dreams come true the other day. And then we got to go because we got to get to bed because we got to get up at the crack of dawn.
Yes, we do.
Earlier than the crack of dawn. I'll see you in the dark, Alex.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
We love
everyone.
everybody. Good
Bye.
night, Linda.
Well, thank
Good
you
night,
guys.
Joe.
Linda,
All
pleasure meeting you too.
Yeah, it was
Good
good.
night.
Good meeting both of you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Goodbye.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love we got going on. I'll pick you up in my 59 Ford. We head on down the road until we get bored. Just you and me and the sun and the wind. If the rain should start falling, we'll head on home again. Everybody else can see where we belong. Oh, ain't no ordinary love we got going on. At the end of the world, together forever is one, and I'll wait if ever you should be